This is BBC Radio Oxford on a Saturday afternoon, the final summer Saturday of the summer before the big kick-off of the football season. Next week we'll have live commentary for you on Oxford United's game at Cambridge United next weekend as the League One season kicks off. But we do have football commentary for you from 3 this afternoon from the Kassam Stadium here, where Oxford United take on Gareth Ainsworth's Queen's Park Rangers. And QPR, well back today, 1,800 supporters have bought tickets in the North Stand. The crowd here going to be north of 4,000, which is not bad for a pre-season friendly. QPR are fielding two different teams today in various friendlies. This one definitely appears to have the big QPR names from the Championship and both the manager and the assistant here as well. So Oxford United, who send out what looks to be their strongest 11, will definitely be in a game. With me right now to discuss what lies ahead, Nick Harris from BBC Radio Oxford Sport and Ben Perkins, the former Oxford United defender, who you know from our podcast The Dub. Afternoon to you both. Typically breezy afternoon here at the Kassam Stadium. Ben, you'll know what this is like. But what it isn't is a baking hot afternoon. It does feel like it's a decent, with the pitch looking lovely, a decent set of circumstances to play this final pre-season friendly.
I mean, you know, you can see the wind in the trees, and actually as a player that's the one condition that you don't want. I mean, I would have liked to play in any. I actually quite enjoyed playing in the heat actually, but you know, you don't want the wind. It can get a little bit windy here, but you know, it's Barcelona football. It's going to be a long season. The team needs to make sure it's prepped, and if you look at the pitch, the ball will hopefully be on the ground most of the time. And a manager that I had previously, he always used to point at the sky and say there's no wind, point at the grass, say there's no wind down there, son. There won't be, so no excuses for any bad passes on the floor.
Nick, a week out from the season and that game at Cambridge, and the team that we've got here does look as if, assuming that Liam Manning makes no further signings, this looks like this could be the starting 11 next week. I'll just go through it for you. Beadle in goal, the teenage goalkeeper United have in from Brighton. The back four, Sam Long at right back, Kieran Brown at left back, with the central defensive pair of Jordan Thornley and Elliot Moore. Josh McEachran and Cameron Brannigan holding midfielders, with Ruben Rodriguez in front of them, and then a front three of Goodrum, Marcus Brown and Mark Harris. And as it stands, assuming there isn't a big signing that comes in between now and opening day, that, whatever Liam Manning tells us, that's his go-to team, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was the side that started the game against Swansea, wasn't it? And played so very well in that first half with that pressing style. Yeah, I mean, we're obviously going to have a look, I would think, at Stanley Mills at some stage. That's come from Everton. James Henry's been poorly. He's back. I would think they'd like to have a little look.
He might get 10 minutes, might he, or something like that today.
McGuane has had this back problem, so perhaps he'll get 10 minutes. And Gatlin O'Donkor scored against Bristol City last Saturday. We'll wait and see. But if I was the manager, thank God I'm not, that was the side that I would pick with the players they've got for the home game. The away game at Cambridge next Saturday.
Ben, I'm just looking at the bench for United today, which is Simon Eastwood, the goalkeeper, Stan Mills, who's the 19-year-old in on loan from Everton, who came in on Thursday, Billy Bowden, Finn Stevens, who United have in on loan from Brentford, James Henry, who we've talked about, Marcus McGuane, Stefan Negru and Gatlin O'Donkor. That's a strong bench. But how are those players feeling right now? No more pre-season friendlies before the big kick-off, and they're on the bench today.
I mean, to an extent, like, it is what it is. I mean, and there's no real surprises. You know, we heard Liam Manning a couple of weeks ago say he didn't want to show his hand, and we were all reading into it thinking, that looks like your team. The same team played against Swansea, the same team plays again today. So I don't think they can have any qualms with Manning's led them, down the garden path and built up expectation. Whether they think they've had a fair chance to demonstrate their ability over the course of pre-season, that will depend on the individual player. But it's Liam Manning. He's pretty clear in his ideas. It's his name on the block. This team's really, really ambitious. The club is really, really ambitious. They have to remain professional. Wait until they get their opportunity. There might be an injury today. It might be 5 minutes, 10 minutes in the 90th minute. Then they might get their chance next week. So they've got to make sure that they're ready. Sounds like pre-season's been pretty intense, so whether they play today or they don't, I'd expect them to be ready to step out onto that pitch at Cambridge next Saturday.
And Nick, 8 players named on the bench there for United, all of whom might have gone into the summer hoping or expecting to be in the starting lineup. And one thing we should point out, of course, is the second game of the season, which is 10 days away, at Bristol City in the Carabao Cup, the League Cup. and you feel like all of those players might start that night.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty intense, as it always is, opening to the season. And as Ben says, who knows about injuries, who knows about niggles and everything else. And yeah, just looking at that bench, yeah, Billy Bowden obviously missed a lot of last season, didn't he, through injury. Came strong at the end of the season.
And when United really needed him.
When he needed it, he came up with the goals. Gatlin O'Donkor obviously really fancied his chances of leading the United line. And I think the worry about everybody keeps saying is where are the goals going to come from? Well, I think there's a lot of places the goals can come from, but if they could come from Gatlin O'Donkor leading the line as a proper centre forward, I think there's a massive chance for him, and I would think he'd be desperate to get on as soon as he can. But
not least because I dare say that United still want to bring in another centre forward before, if not by next weekend, by the time the window closes.
But it's quite refreshing, isn't it, that Liam Manning played this side in the opening half against Swansea and has got the opening side again, and it does, to me, really seem that he has it very clearly in his mind how he wants to play. It's an adventurous side, isn't it? You know, playing with, well, two wingers, really, isn't it, with Marcus Brown and Tyler Goodrum. The midfield of Rodriguez and Harris just in front of him, and Harris obviously playing centre forward. I think it's very adventurous, and with this press style they do, it's great to watch. Is it defensively strong enough?
Good test today, isn't it?
I'm not quite sure. Yeah, it is a good test today. Yeah.
Ben, QPR. I mean, you're well knowledgeable about QPR. This does look like their strong 11, if you like. If they've split their squad today, they've split it very heavily in favour of sending their stars here, haven't they?
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if this isn't the QPR first team that lines up next week. I can't recall who their openers against, but I watched them a lot last season. They've had a few arrivals. Begovic probably being the most experienced and biggest name who will replace Dieng in goal. But it's interesting because obviously Gareth Ainsworth's come in. He's got a reputation for, going long, turning teams round, pace, power. If you look at his team, Ilias Chair's in there, Taylor Richards in there, Chris Willock in there. They're three who like to play in the 10, like to come off the line, like to ball to feet. So it's interesting. I'm expecting QPR to play in Oxford's half, but when they get there, they've got some real high-level players that will be a great test for this Oxford back four this afternoon.
They're away to Watford. That is a pretty tough start, isn't it, to the season for QPR? And there was some suggestion they might split their squad down the middle in the way that Bristol City, for example, have been doing and did last week when they had a team against Oxford and a team that played against Newport. But right now, both managers are going to be looking at gelling an 11. Because it's all very well saying, oh yeah, we want the two centre-halves to play together, but actually right now you need all the partnerships to work, don't you? You even need to start thinking, or do you, about set pieces, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so, and I from experience, the week entering into the penultimate or the final pre-season fixture will be the week where you're working on more detail, where you're working on things like set pieces. I think very much now there's no real surprises. Everyone analyses other team. Everyone can kind of read between the lines as to who's going to play. So people tend to show their hand. This is the dress rehearsal. In fact, the significant majority in the entirety of all my experience, have always played the team that's going to play the next week on that final pre-season fixture.
And then say you're not.
Say again?
And then say you're not doing it.
Well, yeah, of course you do. And you try to mislead people. But, like I say, there's so much analysis that goes on these days. People know. It's more important that you get yourselves right rather than trying to hoodwink the opposition for next week, in my opinion.
If you want to have yours say, text us 81333, start your message with the word Oxford. Our commentary then this afternoon is Oxford United against Queen's Park Rangers live from the Kassam Stadium. 3 o'clock kick-off here. Earlier on, Brackley 1, Oxford City 0 in a morning pre-season friendly. We'll reflect more on that, and we'll hear from Oxford United's latest signing, Stan Mills, next here at BBC Radio Oxford. Thank you for being with us on this Saturday afternoon, the final summer Saturday from us before the big kick-off for the league football season next weekend. We've got commentary to come on Oxford United's game here against Queen's Park Rangers at the Kassam Stadium. And whenever these two play, there's always a little bit of a 1986 throwback. And I do like the fact that the programme today, which is a small kind of pre-season pamphlet affair, but they have kind of replicated the front page of the programme from the 1986 Milk Cup final. I like that. I've enjoyed that. England against Australia in the cricket then, and England 168 for 2 in their second innings, so they lead by 156 with 8 wickets remaining. Ben Stokes has made a quick-fire 31. Joe Root's not out as well, 16. Zach Crawley out for 73. Ben Duckett for 42. England piling on the runs, and they need to, because rather like the controversial test at Old Trafford, the weather might affect the final couple of days. We're building up to the kick-off in this Oxford United QPR game. On the bench today is Stan Mills, 19-year-old Everton winger who's joined Oxford on a season-long loan. He's the son of the former England defender Danny Mills. His brother is a former British 1500-metre champion, George Mills. And, well, there's a good pedigree there, let's be honest. United have spent the summer fighting off interest from other clubs for Stan Mills, and their new recruit says he's very comfortable with his decision to come to the Kassam.
Oxford's always been on the table from the start of pre-season, and obviously I just wanted to get it done as soon as possible once I knew, and now I'm here. I can't wait to get started.
You started off at Leeds, you've been at Everton. Geographically, this might seem like quite a big move for you, but your family's got history in Oxford, hasn't it?
Yeah, my sister, she went to uni here, so she knows the place quite well, so if I need anything I can always ask her.
Did she get the brains, or are you going to be the cleverest in the dressing room as well?
I'm not bad, to be fair.
People will say, oh, he's following in his father's footsteps. Are you looking to make your own headlines, though, while you're here?
Yeah, definitely. I want to be my own person, make my own name for myself. Yeah, he's done well and I'd love to follow what he's done, but I want to make my own name.
But I gather he's quite supportive. You might see him in the stands at the Kassam quite a lot.
Yeah, he'll be there every game, home and away. He'll definitely be there.
And obviously Everton will be concerned about that development.
It's big for them where I go, and I think here's the right fit for everyone. Hopefully I'm going to get minutes and I can have a good season and go back there and hopefully challenge there next season, but we'll see.
Where do you see your strengths, and where do you see yourself contributing?
I'm very direct as a winger. I like to use my pace well and get at the fullback, and I feel I can score with both feet. I think that's a big strength of mine, going both ways and being unpredictable for the fullbacks.
So Stan Mills in at Oxford United on the bench today from Everton, Ben's boyhood club. Listen, he's a player who really needed to think hard about his first loan. Is it a bit of a feather in Oxford's cap that they've got him? Because I think many people were thinking he might go championship or a massive League One club.
Well, I mean, there's an argument to say he is at a massive League One club, Jerome, when we look at the composition of League One this season. But yeah, I do think it's a feather in that. I mean, my youth team manager used to say that, a feather in your cap if you beat them, so it haunts me, that phrase. But it is to a degree, and I think I read him what he said in his interview. He said he came, he saw the pitch, he saw the training ground, he saw the facilities. He didn't mention the stadium, interestingly enough.
Yeah, probably it's the first time he's been here today.
No, but he mentioned the pitch and things like that. And to be fair, when you are a young player, I think, and you want to pass the ball, you want to understand how you're going to play. And I think Liam Manning's probably got a really good connection with those type of players. Looking at development, I think he's probably quite a good facilitator. So for me, a pretty shrewd decision from him, because I'm looking at it, I think he'll get opportunities, and I also think the team's set up for a pretty successful season this year.
Both Mills and Mark Harris was another one that have talked a lot about this kind of Zoom presentation that Liam Manning has done. And you feel like he can't be the only person doing that when he's trying to attract a player, so he must be doing something very right once he jumps online.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of take that with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because I think that happens across the board. I think people will do their Zoom presentations. In fact, I know for a fact that this happens when players, people want to see how they're going to fit in, etc., etc. I think there's probably a lot more things that come into your thinking before you go to the Zoom presentation, unless people are delivering really bad presentations. But so yes, no surprises that Manning, as diligent as he is, he's doing that. I think he did that in his interview here. But that's the standard now.
Well, we've been on because he joined us on the Dub on the podcast. We've been on a Zoom with Liam Manning, and he is proper engaging on there.
He is. I would imagine that there was a lot more of him doing the talking and the leading of the conversation compared to the one that we were on. I felt like, I enjoyed him on the Zoom, but it was very difficult to coax something out of him that would, be out of... He played it with a very straight bat, as they say. But, on the Zoom, it will have been him presenting his ideas, how how Mills will fit into the side, where he's going to get his opportunities, and I'd imagine Mills is sat there with his agent, and they'll have looked at it. But fundamentally, I think as a young player, you want to go into a team that's going to be successful over the course of the season, because I think that's probably the best place to help your development rather than a struggling side. So for me, you probably looked at it and think, well, am I going to get opportunities? Am I going to be playing with good players? And then does the manager understand me and how I'm going to fit in? So we'll have ticked all those boxes, but I'd imagine he's come in here and he's looking at the side thinking, we've got a real chance of being up there. From my perspective, it's just if we get things right at the top end of the pitch.
And of course, he'll want to play, but he's on the bench today, Nick. Another fascinating part of his development is, of course, his family background. What must it be like trying to be a footballer when your dad's played for England? Of course, if you want to know some experience of what that's like, speak to Billy Bowden, whose dad's an international and is also on the bench for Oxford. Billy Bowden is also on the bench for Oxford United today.
Swindon, which
well, no, I'm talking about the positives. Yeah. Let's not go there.
But it must be hard for a youngster, mustn't it, growing up in...
I mean, you'll have seen it in your motorsport world as well, won't you?
Oh, very much
when there was a danger of being overshadowed.
To come and, to everybody compares you with your father. Jack Villeneuve is the one I remember so well when he came to Williams, and I was with the team then, and he found it very hard. I think he got, and Damon Hill also, we had the two together, and both of them were always being compared to their fathers, and they were good about it, but I could tell when you go to a different country and it'd be the same questions about their dad and their exploits.
But as with both,
you've got to stand on your own in the end, haven't you?
And both of them actually are really good examples of people that did write their own history.
Absolutely right. Both of them won the World Championship. But it's interesting. It's interesting he's chosen Oxford, isn't it? And I know about presentation and everything, but I'm sure they look very closely. As a League One club, Oxford, training facilities are top class, aren't they? And a lot about the club.
I think the sort of suggestion.
I know the stadium.
About the training facilities, I think the suggestion is that Reading spent out a lot on their Bearwood facility. Derby obviously built their training ground as a Premier League club. Other than that, Oxford might. I don't know if you, Benny, you heard any more about this, but
is it
Oxford?
Is he going to play though? That's the.
Stan Mills.
Yeah. Well, I mean, will he? He must have looked at that closely, must he, to see,
and that might be
how many games.
And that might be why he's not a championship club, for example.
Absolutely,
Really good point. Thank you both. We'll talk more about Oxford United against QPR and hear a little bit from Liam Manning about what prospect of further transfers before we get to kick off here at 3 o'clock. Earlier on today, Brackley 1, Oxford City 0 in the first pre-season friendly of the day. We'll get some action and reaction from that after this. Dua Lipa at BBC Radio Oxford, half an hour away from kick-off at the Kassam Stadium as Oxford United play Queen's Park Rangers in the final pre-season friendly of the summer. We have the whole game live for you on 95.2 FM on digital radio, and because it's a friendly, also on BBC Sounds. This is Jerome Sale on a Saturday afternoon, final summer Saturday from BBC Radio Oxford, but we do have football commentary for you this afternoon as Oxford United play QPR at a pretty sun-drenched Kassam Stadium at the moment. The sprinklers are on, creating their own rainbow effect at the moment. It's very pretty here. I mean, it's still not that warm, and it never is in the south stand of the Kassam Stadium. To be honest, I've gone shirt sleeves, but I'm disappointed because both Ben Perkins, who's with us, and Nick Harris have both gone kind of fleecy tops. They are more prepared for this than I am. Let's talk about the transfer dealings for Oxford United. They brought in Stan Mills this week on loan from Everton, the winger we've already heard from on the show this afternoon. So what prospect of more before the season starts? And maybe what about the possibility of players currently at the squad going out? Here's the United boss, Liam Manning.
Yeah, there's still a couple of the squad spoken with, in terms of when you look at the numbers, might find game time difficult to come by. So I've said they can explore options, and we'll still need to bring a couple in for me. So again, I think we're, as I've said throughout the window, now there's a huge amount of work that's going on constantly behind the scenes with. I'm sure you've seen Eddie's constantly on the phone, it never leaves us trying to get stuff done. So we're still quite clear. We still, for me, need a minimum of 2. And hopefully we'll get them done in the next couple of weeks.
And are they likely to sort of fill the loan quota, or could they be permanent as well, do you think?
Either or. We're exploring both. The list has both. We're having conversations with both. So again, I think we're pushing extremely hard. For me, I don't really want to run late into August. to fill spots. I think what we've done a good job so far and what's helped us, and what will hopefully allow us to get off to a positive start, is the fact that we've got a bulk of the group in early. So at the same point, to counter that, it's about getting the right ones in and not just taking people that are there for the sake of it. So we'll keep pushing, we'll keep working, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks there'll be some more movement.
Liam Manning there, the Oxford United boss. Ben Perkins is with me, Nick Harris is with me. Ben, we've spoken about transfers in and out on the dub a little bit, and I think everyone's in agreement. Left back might still be needed, striker might still be needed. Interesting there, though, he's talking about players who might not be involved at Oxford United going forward. Now, we know Josh Murphy, who's not in the squad today, has had a bit of an injury and, quotes, is touch and go for next week. Yannick Wiltshire is not even on the bench today. Do we read into that he's one of those that might be allowed to go?
I think yes. Putting that bluntly, I mean, I have to say I looked over my right shoulder a few moments ago, and he was speaking with one of the executives, and it did cross my mind as to whether that was something that they were speaking about. Interesting when he came into the building, Liam Manning, back end of last season, Murphy and Wiltshire featured, and then gradually featured less and less over the course of his time at the back end of last season, when I think players like Tyler Goodrum were preferred as an example. And that's been consistent throughout his approach to this pre-season as well. And we've just again been speaking off air about how I think there's been investment in the players that have come in the building, but there will need to be some book balancing, and you do look at those two as individuals that I don't think they'll be on bad contracts, and the challenge may be to actually find others elsewhere that will pay them the money that they're on here. But it may be that the team has to cut their losses and perhaps pay a little bit of money to these players to subsidise their wages that will be less elsewhere. So a difficult one to get players out, but clear message without being spoken is that they perhaps won't play, and from a player's perspective, everyone ultimately wants to play.
Nick, with Murphy, he can't do anything about being injured, but he was one of those players who fell into the are they durable enough for Oxford United conversation last season, and being injured before this season's even kicked off. Again, maybe there's absolutely not a thing he can do about it, but it's not a great look, is it, for him?
No, it's not. It was a massive disappointment last year through injuries. I mean, he came injured, and Carl Robinson really talked him up the whole time, in and out a bit of the time. I think Liam Manning...
He didn't come in injured, he got injured in the pre-season game at Wimbledon.
Yeah. Liam Manning played him a little bit towards the end, but he was a bit in and out, and I think everybody felt, though he is a good player, and here we are, he's obviously got a niggling injury now. We don't know quite what the extent is. It is interesting, I think, what Ben said. I think United will try and offload a few, don't you, to offset things. And some of the big earners, perhaps James Henry, you look at, is he going to be a regular in the side this year? I believe he's on a good contract, so it'll be interesting. But it is been offset. If you loan these people out, you have to pay some of their wages and everything else. And I think some of the youngsters, once the side is settled, and perhaps even when the transfer deadline's nearly over, will go out and to gain experience. It's wheeling and dealing, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And you deal with human beings, of course, as well.
Yeah, you are.
Just on the business side of things, though, I think Wiltshire came in a week before the season last year. So this time last year is when he came in. And then they signed Javan Anderson on deadline day. This year, the business has been done earlier, and it's been done with, how can I describe it? It's got less wild card signings, aren't they? You don't feel there's so much risk with any of the players that they brought in?
I don't think there's probably any risk with the players.
There's always some.
That's part of not the fun, but part of the intrigue, isn't it? But there was, last year there was some big gambles, and let's be honest, a lot of them didn't come. Wiltshire was unlucky when I think it was a year ago, probably to the day, we went to Wimbledon, and he had a really bad injury, and he's never really quite recovered from that. But no, I think, and doing the business early, I think, is very important. And I think, as Ben said, I think it shows United and the board really mean business, and they paid proper money and proper contracts for the players they've brought in, because there were, without a doubt, other clubs interested in these players.
And they have obviously made bids for players for transfer fees as well, by the sounds of it, but not actually spent any yet. And maybe they will in the final week of the summer, or in the final 5 weeks of the transfer window. We shall see. We'll see the players that Liam Manning does already have at his disposal when we come back after this from Ultravox, because it's Oxford United against Queen's Park Rangers. It's our live commentary, and we're just moments away from the game at the Kassam Stadium.
Every kick, tackle and goal.
Back with a bang, Oxford United. What a ball in! What a finish! Oxford get what they deserve.
All the action is just moments away.
The Oxford United fans are loving every minute of it. And we are underway.
BBC Radio Oxford Sport, the official broadcast partner of Oxford United.
Good afternoon from BBC Radio Oxford Sport. We're live at the Kassam Stadium. Oxford United against Queen's Park Rangers in the final pre-season friendly for the U's ahead of the big kick-off in League One next week. United yellow shirts and dark blue shorts about to kick the game off, attacking the goal away to our left, the open end of the Kassam Stadium. QPR well backed, 1,800 fans have made the journey, and they've just played tribute to a man who perhaps less famously played for them than for others, but Trevor Francis, who the former England man who passed away this week, has been honoured here at the Kassam Stadium as well. So we're underway here with the Oxford United team. I'll go through it as we have a pause in play, but right now they're in possession, the U's, inside their own half with Jordan Thornley, one of the summer signings. Across the back line to Elliot Moore, his central defensive partner. Sam Long, the right back, gets a touch. Kieran Brown to the left back, and James Beadle is the goalkeeper in possession now, and he chips it out to the near side of the field, asking Brown to win it in the air. He wins a throw in, not the ball. The midfield for Oxford, Josh McEachran and Cameron Brannigan, with Ruben Rodriguez, their summer signing from Notts County, in front of them. Marcus Brown playing on the left, Tyler Goodrum on the right, and Mark Harris, another summer recruit from Cardiff, up front for Oxford United. Throw in near side, down the line from Kieran Brown, who maybe have to try and shepherd it out of play after it was headed back in his direction by Jimmy Dunn of QPR, and the throw in for Oxford is deeper in their own half. Begovic, the goalkeeper for QPR, Kakai, Dunn, Chris Willock is there as well, Sam Field, Chair, Gubbins, Dazelle, Richards, Parr and Dykes up front. Just 5 on the bench for Gareth Ainsworth QPR today. Walsh, Kelman, Adoma, Rendell and Gape, a player he had with him at Wycombe Wanderers before his move to Loftus Road, Ainsworth. So 0-0 after 90 seconds of the game. Sam Long in possession for Oxford United. It's a nice threaded pass as well to Cameron Brannigan. Just over the halfway line, he checks infield. McEachran takes a touch. Second game for him at his hometown club stadium. Now it's chipped forward by Jordan Thornley. Just gathers a little bit of momentum in the wind that he wasn't looking for, and he's out of play for a throw in near side of the field to Queen's Park Rangers. And Osman Kakai is preparing to take the throw in. QPR starting next week at Watford in the Championship. Oxford United starting next week at Cambridge United in League One. Perhaps more expectation on Oxford in League One than there is on QPR in the Championship after the summer dealings of both. But at this stage of the year, everybody is optimistic that it might just be their year. Nice touch from Ruben Rodriguez, finding Tyler Goodrum, and Sam Long cushions a nice pass back to him. Lovely ball into the penalty area, lovely turn from Goodrum as well, although QPR smuggle it away in the end. Decent work from Palback defending. Great opportunity there for the U's to break into the box. Ben Perkins, that was excellent, wasn't it, there from Sam Long in particular, who of the starting 11 today might be the one who feels his position is most under threat with Finn Stevens on the bench.
Yeah, he may do. It's always difficult when someone new comes into the building, but for me, I think, Manning's played him in every pre-season game, give or take, so, he should be confident in playing. It was a nice little ball in from him, but I've been really interested with the movement of Rodriguez, Goodrum. They're all coming to pockets, playing in combinations with each other, and that was great link-up play. And obviously you get that the benefit of having worked with the team throughout the course of pre-season.
And United really are at the moment in these opening exchanges, and we're only 3.5 minutes in, it's 0-0, but it is Oxford United that are sort of dictating the play at the moment. The patterns that have played, the rotations, etc., are all about what Oxford United are doing. Queen's Park Rangers are set up behind the ball, although Oxford are deep in their own half at the moment with Elliot Moore, and he tries to play a back pass that Lyndon Dykes there got a touch on. And they were... And it's probably the first time in pre-season I've seen Oxford United's starting back four a little bit flustered there, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, it was intelligent pressure from Dykes. I think Elliot Moore, pretty poor pass into him. But, you know, I think that's going to happen. I think if you're going to play out from the back, you play the way Liam Manning wants to play, you are going to get the odd mistake here and there. And, you know, if that's the only, you know, time we've seen the team flustered throughout the course of pre-season, then, you know, you take that because there's been some quite testing games. But this will be the biggest test, and Lyndon Dykes is a centre-forward that is, you know, is really keen to pressure and is that handful that people speak about.
If I'm honest, I haven't been watching as intently as I might do in season, but that was as flustered as I've seen Elliot Moore, no doubt about it. Free kick to Queen's Park Rangers then, and the ball is lofted to the back of the Oxford box. Elliot Moore is completely unflustered now as he's able to shepherd it out of play for a goal kick. Let's bring in Peter Rhodes-Brown, who's with us this afternoon. Rosie, good afternoon.
Afternoon. Just been down there with the officials, and apparently today, I mean, this season, the boys have been told that you're not allowed to surround the referee and the abusive language, and they've got to crack down on it. So today, both managers have agreed that they're going to give them 15 free kicks for Oxford United on half. And the referee and the manager have said, give us 15 to settle into it, but the players have been warned, if they start surrounding the players and having questioning the referee, they're going to produce yellow cards today after 15 minutes.
As you probably know, if you're a regular listener to Radio Oxford, I've not always been the biggest fan of referees. However, I totally support this move, because you have to have respect, because our referee's going to give you decent decisions if they're under that level of unnecessary pressure, and I think that's a smart move, and I hope that it's absolutely enforced, because you also don't want it to be replicated on park pitches by kids, and kids of course will emulate what senior pros do as well. So I'm fully in support of that. Other changes we're going to see is and I'm absolutely here for this as well, a clamp down on time wasting, and we'll see how that manifests itself as the season goes on, because we've sometimes heard the league talk the talk about that. I want to see them walk the walk. Here's Brown for Oxford United, Kieran Brown for the U's, back into his own half to Jordan Thornley. Thornley back to his goalkeeper, and Beadle will start again with Cameron Brannigan. United now with Elliot Moore. They are being kind of unmolested defensively, aren't they? QPR, their tactics seems to be, okay, we'll let Oxford play in their final third, but once it gets beyond that, Ben, they'll close down.
Yeah, and it's an interesting strategy as well. It's almost like letting Oxford have the ball and then trying to, you know, counter quickly on the transition. But if you look at the QPR centre forward in Dykes, he's not really got that pace in beyond. So how that works, I'm not so sure.
James Beadle, the Oxford goalkeeper, was carrying the ball out beyond his centre halves, and his pass forward has been dealt with by QPR, and now in possession with Andre Dazelle, and across the back line now from Gubbins to the far side of the field. Back into Parle, who will try and get QPR going again left side. Dunn now is brought into the play, and nice ball out to the near side of the field, and forward goes Osman Kaikai. Deep ball to the back of the box. Maybe has put too much on it. It's whether Samlon can see it out for a throw in. He can't, and trying to do so, he wins a goal kick, but he was a touch unlucky there, or touch lucky there to get the goal kick, Samlon, because he was caught in two minds, Rosie, wasn't he, about whether to see it out for a throw in or trying to play.
I thought if there was going to be enough water on that far side that has been watered pre-match, that would have zipped into touch, but it didn't. It just held up a little bit. And with the weather down there like it is, it's quite warm, and I know Kieran and the ground staff have put a lot more water on today as much as they could, but it's going to dry up rather quickly, so they've got to just give a little bit more to on the ball. But just Oxford United just got picked off there. Back pass
into the Oxford United penalty area it goes. Good work from Thornley, just standing his ground, allowing it to go out of play. Throw in, goal kick to Oxford United. which James Beadle is going to take. The players wearing black armbands today after the loss of Trevor Francis, such a huge figure for a whole generation of football supporters as a player, and then again for many as a manager as well. Here's Kieran Brown. That's a speculative cross-field, across his own penalty area, right-footed ball from the left-footed Brown, and it's paid off because Elliot Moore's got Sam Long going now down the right-hand side, infield to Goodrum, stepping infield, nice touch. Rodriguez is closed down quickly though, and QPR are able to get it back to their goalkeeper, Asmir Begovic. Plenty of Premier League experience from him, but he's expected to play most of the games in the Championship for QPR this season. And QPR now able to build out from the back. Oxford had a League Cup game against QPR in the not too distant past, where Rob Dickey featured heavily and scored an amazing goal at Loftus Road. He's now ready to line up for Oxford United against Bristol City in the first round of the League Cup in 10 days' time. Told us at the training ground where Oxford United played a pre-season friendly against Bristol City last week, he was saving his one spectacular goal for the season for Wednesday week at Ashton Gate. Hope that's wrong. In fact, I hope he's rested. Here's a good bit of play from Brannigan, keeping the play alive for Oxford after a difficult ball for him to control from Kieran Brown. Oxford switch it to the far side of the play, to the field, and Chris Willock is able just to watch it out, and it's going to be a QPR throw-in on the halfway line. 0-0 here after 10 minutes play, and the early sort of intensity from Oxford's just dissipated a bit, Ben.
Yeah, I think QPR are gaining a bit more of a foothold in the game in terms of possession, and they're also pressing a couple of yards higher up the pitch. I think decent press from Chair there, and Oxford need to be careful. Yeah, play it out from the back, but when that ball goes into Bekekren, from Moore as an example, he can't play it blind to Thornley, because that will be the trigger, and you can see that's how QPR are set up. And actually playing against some pretty intelligent players, Dykes, Willocks, Chair. So they'll be waiting to pounce, and be interested to see how that evolves throughout the course of the game.
Mentioned that game at Loftus Road in the League Cup where Oxford were beaten, and Elias Chair was just sensational. It's the first time I've really seen him in the flesh, and just thought, what a player. And in some ways I'm slightly surprised that he still finds himself at QPR, a team that struggled in the Championship.
I watched him quite a bit last season, because to be fair, QPR just round the corner from me. I watched him quite a bit, and he went to the World Cup, so it broke up his rhythm a little bit. Didn't really feature much at the World Cup, and then when he came back, it looked lively. But it's probably his, if you're looking at his goal contribution, his assist contribution, that was probably what let him down. But agree with you, in that League Cup game, I was at that game as well, and he was electric. Him and Willock last season were the ones at the start of the season that were really on fire, and the ones that everyone was talking about, but just dropped off towards the back end. So it's a big season for him, big season for Willock, and big season for Gareth Ainsworth and QPR.
Yeah, Elias Chair went to the World Cup with Morocco, but as Ben was saying, did not feature massively. In some ways he got the mid-season break that many players wanted, but not in the way that he would have liked it. And actually, of course, the Championship in particular was really intense around the World Cup. Here's Elliot Moore for United, striding out from the back, gets it back, a little bit of a short pass from Rodriguez. Moore's able to get it forward. Harris gets a good first touch of the ball, first time he's really got it under control, tries to funnel it through to Goodrum, and he neither really fully getting it under control, and Oxford see their attack break down, although Sam Long prevents Willock starting a quick counter-attack.
Yeah, I think we all know that we're going to still play it out from the back no matter what. We nearly got caught out a couple of times, as Ben said, but still keep believing in it, keep doing it. And then we break out on the right-hand side, and the work rate from Mark Harris and the strength that he tries to keep the ball, but we lost the ball in the final third. And the work rate trying to get the ball back is exceptional, and we do that all the time. Offside,
Flacco's up for offside against Chair, just strayed in front of his fellow teammates, and Oxford stepped up and caught him offside. The midfielder was higher than some of the front men.
It's the energy though, isn't it, Jerome? I think it's important that when we've got the ball, it's just keep it nice and simple, but zip the ball into people, believe in the players that you're passing to, believe in yourself. But when we lose the ball, it's that little switch and that turn on can you get the ball back as early as possible.
Listening to pre-season football on BBC Radio Oxford this afternoon. Oxford United 0, Queen's Park Rangers 0 after 13.5 minutes at the Castad. Oxford attacking the open end of the Kassam Stadium, but QPR doing the pressing at the moment, and a free kick given there. A foul on... I thought it might be on Dykes. He's back up on his feet.
But they're starting to get a little bit of a read now, I think, and they're really waiting for that ball. Once it goes to one of the centre-halves, in that case it was Thornley, as soon as it goes into McEachran in midfield, they're on it and they're pouncing. And that, they won it in quite a dangerous area, and actually a clever foul from Oxford to bring, the play to a close. But just a little bit of a warning. Yes, you need to play in the tight areas, but QPR seem to have switched onto it a little bit more.
Free kick into the Oxford box, headed away by Moore. Can United quickly turn defence into attack? Well, not now, and there's a big booming up and under to the near side of the field that Gareth Ainsworth at Wickham might be more proud of than he is for QPR. And he's had a play for a throw into Oxford.
Sorry, but Ben, but now, you're right, they are pressing, but now do we not want to just clip that ball into midfield a bit earlier, or hit the front man and just get them to sort of sit back a little bit, or are we still going to play, do you think?
And I mean, that comes down to decision making of the players on the pitch and the instructions that you're getting from the manager. I mean, I'm a massive believer in, you saw a relatively risky pass from Kieran Brown across to Elliot Moore. It was a good touch from Moore. It was a decent pass in the end, and actually you ended up out on the other side with Sam Long. So yeah, you're playing in the tight areas, but you're playing in the tight areas to get space elsewhere. So I wouldn't be completely against trying to play into McEachran now, but yes, you need to see where the alternatives are.
Nice play from Goodrum and Rodriguez to get Sam Long going down the right-hand side. He has to check those. He's closed down by Willock, who had the pace to get back at him, and Oxford's attack has lost a fair bit of momentum now, and QPR have got players back behind the ball, and in fact, Sam Long plays it from the halfway line back to his goalkeeper, Beadle, who is almost caught in possession. He got it out of his feet and out of play for a throw-in, but perhaps didn't get the time there that he might expect to get in League One. Here's Dykes with the ball into Oxford's box, and Beadle's able to pounce on it and just calm things down.
I think this is why this is a really good test for Oxford today, because QPR will play at that degree greater intensity than they will get against Cambridge and perhaps have had in previous pre-season games. So yeah, we've seen a couple of instances where players have been put under pressure, Beadle in that instance there, but this is what you need, like the game before the main event next on Saturday, and it'll hopefully focus the players' minds when they are in possession at the back.
Here's Brown infield to... It's Marcus Brown infield to Cameron Brannigan, and I think there's a blow in the face there for a Queen's Park Rangers player who's down. It's is it?
It's Field, I think.
Yeah, and there was no malice intended there at all, was there? Cameron Brannigan just checking his opposite numbers. Okay, Sam Field back on his feet, and I don't think we're going to need drinks breaks or anything like that this afternoon, but there's a momentary pause for a couple of individuals to take some drink and some advice on board from either side, and the referee's just going to start the game again. And we've played 16.5 minutes at the Kassam Stadium. There's a drop ball here to get us going again. It's Oxford United 0, Queen's Park Rangers 0. It's McEachran finding Cameron Brannigan. Thornley now chipping it out to the near side of the field, headed on by Kieran Brown. Infield looking for challenge to come in maybe from Rodriguez. Again, free kick given. Field's back up on his feet, and it's going to be a free kick to QPR inside their own half. This is not the sort of sensational stuff we saw against Swansea 8 days ago, is it, at the moment? This is pre-season.
It is to a point. I mean, it's not as good as it was. It's not as free-flowing, but this is, as Ben said, this is what sort of maybe, that QPR have now settled in and know exactly what we're going to do, and can Oxford United handle it? This is what pre-season friendlies are for.
Ball played long there from, I think, Gibbons at the back, goes dead, gives Oxford a chance to reset. Beadle take the goal kick. Into Moore. That ball into McEachran into the midfield. Back to Beadle. It's quite slow build-up at the moment before being forced to go long to Brown. Brown into namesake Brown, but broken down. Brown now pressing chair. Dunn slips. Brannigan and Harris together onto it. Dunn looks injured there. Looks like he's hurt his shoulder. Be a big blow for QPR if that's the case.
Yeah, the ball on the edge of the QPR penalty area, and it was played forward somewhat speculatively by United, and right on the edge of the box, you're right, Dunn slipped, and as he fell, I think his arm awkwardly hit the deck, didn't it? And that looked a nasty one, Rose.
Yeah, it was. He just slipped, as you're saying. He's just popped his shoulder, whether it's popped it out or whatever. But he's in pain. But bless him, he's recovered and gone and chased the ball out and put it in the touch.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, as a centre half. I mean, it looks like maybe a dislocated shoulder, but that would be a big blow for them because quite light at the back, Rangers. Obviously with the departure of Dickey, I think Salter Harris is injured, and Dunn's a big player, big experienced player for them.
Yeah, this is exactly what you don't want if you're Gareth Ainsworth, isn't it? Is an injury. You probably got both managers who were told, if you said, what do you want out of this game? First thing they'd say is no injuries, and Gareth Ainsworth wants to be thinking now as the stretcher is brought out for Dunn.
Yeah, again, I don't think this can be more than a dislocated shoulder, I wouldn't have thought, and that can have varying degrees of time off the pitch depending on, I think, how they pop it back in. But we spoke about it earlier, about you asked the question about players on the bench and how would they feel, and the expectation that they might not play next weekend. Well, injuries can happen, and actually you kind of like that next man up philosophy that people talk about, and it'll be a chance for someone at QPR to step into Dunn's shoes if he's out for a period, and that's the likes of Mills, Bowden, Stevens, Henry, McGuane, Negru, O'Donker. I'm listing everyone on the bench, even like Yannick Wildshaw, Murphy, who aren't involved in the squad today, whether it's injury or whether it's potentially leaving. Things can change so quickly in football, and you've just got to make sure that you're ready.
And I think you named all those players, Ben, and that's a better depth of squad that we've got this year than we had last year, quality-wise as well.
This is a concern. Whatever is available off the bench for Gareth Ainsworth, this is a blow for the player and for the club. Let's take you to Banbury United, who are playing Maidenhead United in a pre-season friendly this afternoon. 20 minutes or so into that one. Let's get an update from Kieran Bushnell.
Yeah, still Banbury 0, Maidenhead United 0. A couple of half chances for either side. Ken Charles looks really lively for Banbury. He had a shot from distance after turning well on the edge of the box, but it was held by the keeper, Craig Ross. At the other end, Ashley Nathaniel George forced a good low save from Jack Harding, jinked his way into the penalty area, into the 6-yard box, but Harding, off of his line, blocked it behind for a corner. And just a moment ago, Charles drilled one across the face of goal after turning well again on the edge of the penalty area, but it remains 0-0.
Thank you, Kieran. Earlier on, Brackley 1, Oxford City 0 in a morning pre-season friendly today. Dunn is still being treated, and I think he's being put onto the stretcher now. The Oxford United medical staff helping the QPR medical staff, and so we're getting quite a break in play at the moment. Can I update you on the situation with the cricket? England have lost another couple of wickets. Ben Stokes has gone for 42. Harry Brook, who is a hero at Old Trafford, out for 7. And he was a hero in the first innings. Out for 7, though, in the second innings today. So Johnny Bairstow, 12 not out. Joe Root's moved on to 58 not out. England 240 for 4. So they now lead by 228 runs with 6 wickets remaining. I wonder if they'll try and give Australia a few overs this afternoon and then try and get them all out tomorrow. We'll see. It's one of those where England do have to try and win. They want to level the series up at 2-2, even though the Ashes have gone. Jimmy Dunn is being stretchered off here. I think there's a bit of painkilling, oxygen, etc. being administered as well. And I've got to say, that looks horrible. I really, really don't like to see that for Jimmy Dunn. And you wonder how that impacts his teammates, Ben.
I mean, from my view, I think when you see a teammate get injured, yes, there's that disappointment. But equally, you can't dwell on it. You've got a game to play. And as the announcer's going to announce, Trent Rendell's got, he's a young player. He's been through the QPR development squad, and he now steps into the breach. And, the players remaining on the pitch be full focus on the game. As Begovic goes long, pretty aimless, and it's going to run through to Beadle, who lets it run out for a goal kick. Again, Moore and Thornley show within the penalty area. Brown and Long push high. Ball comes out to Thornley in his own box. Again, casually bringing the ball forward. Goes long this time. Towards Harris, who does well. Sets Marcus Brown, who turns back out a bit short. Here comes Chair on the halfway line. Kakai overlapping. Thornley has to come wide. McEachran, takes a nice little turn in the box as he intercepts the ball. Brings the ball out under pressure, goes back to Thornley. Into Brannigan and resets to Beadle now. Long again. Rodriguez going to challenge, wins the header. QPR pick it up and, an aimless clearance goes out for a throw-in. Round about level with the penalty area, which Sam Long's going to take.
I think that little break in play, that was 19 minutes gone, and we've been putting a lot more pressure today than we had done against Swansea. It's just given the gaffer a little bit of an opportunity to say, okay, fine, it's a different game, it's a different kettle of fish today, but still believe in it. But also, straight away though, Ben and Jerome, that looks like we went forward a little bit more direct instead of trying to, but it's just a bit of reassurance from the manager to say, listen, it's fine. This is what we're doing, this is what we're good at.
Goodrum, I think, just beat by Dazelle in the middle of the pitch. A little play that again breaks up the QPR rhythm. Willock now on the halfway line. He's got Parle on the right high as from fullback goes back to Rendell. Again goes long towards Dyke, but aimless, and Beadle can collect comfortably on the edge of his own box. Rolls it out to Thornley, who again can bring it forward. This time to Harris's feet. Sets Brown, looking for Brannigan in behind. Timed his own beautifully, but the ball's too long and Begovic sweeps it up comfortably.
We've seen today Cameron Brannigan, we saw on Friday night as well, because the introduction of Josh McEachran, who's playing just in front of the back four. Cameron's playing a bit further up the pitch, and he's making some great runs into that front line.
Good pressure from Oxford, the ball back with Begovic, who again goes long. More challenges with Dykes and comes off better. Again, Thornley settles the play into McEachran. Thornley again. And Oxford have settled. Nice little rhythm, nice little triangles between the three. Back to Beadle now. Here's Moore. Into Goodrum, who's come in on the inside of the pitch around the halfway line. Unfortunately, can't find Harris. Cleared by Gibbons from QPR, and again back to Beadle, so Oxford can reset.
It's a bit more intensity from United, I think, as Rosie was talking about. Even when it's passing the ball around their own penalty area, it seems to be fizzing about a little bit more rather than it being perhaps a touch lacklustre before that enforced injury break because of the problem for Jimmy Dunn.
Ball now with Harris. Oh, looks cleared by QPR again. Ball long from Harris there, trying to find the run of Rodriguez, but unfortunately a bit too much on it, and QPR defend it pretty well. But Oxford once again playing the ball around the back. Moore gives the ball away into Field, who picks it up out to Willock, who's 1v1 with Moore around the halfway line, but he comes back, chooses check back into Dazelle, goes back out to Willock. Again, quite slow on the transition, QPR, quite slow in the tempo, allows Oxford to recover into shape nicely. Here's Rendell, right back Kakai, looks in behind, trying to get the ball in behind Brown, but he does well, recovers and puts the ball out for a throw. Here's Kakai midway into the Oxford half now. Quite slow intensity, I think, today when the ball goes dead from both teams. Kakai finds Dykes, who looks to Richards, but it's poor, goes out of play, and good defensive shape from Oxford, I think, from the throw-in.
Just about to say, as soon as Rangers gets the ball, Oxford are getting behind the ball, a bit of a 4-4-2, and Rodriguez has been a little bit quiet when we've had the ball, but certainly when we haven't had the ball, he's picking up some good positions and stopping the opposition from playing little through balls. But just needs to be a little bit better on the ball. always a challenge, a 50-50 from 3 players there. What does that make it, a 33-33?
Ball breaks in midfield through Brannigan, who finds Moore. Out to Long, the ball moving quickly now. Here's Rodriguez. Goodrum running in behind. Level with the QPR penalty area. Tries to beat Powell on the 1v1, checks back to Rodriguez. Rodriguez on the ball, gives it to Goodrum. Long's running in behind him, just a bit disjointed, and Sam Field able to shepherd it out for a QPR goal kick.
Disappointing, because when you get out on the wide wings and you get in that final position, you've got to deliver. And I think Tyler had a little look up, and I'm thinking, just whip it in. And if you know, there's 2 bodies in the box, Ben, and you know, you got a chance. But as soon as you check back and go back, you know, people have made their runs already.
Felt like the tempo to get in there was really, really good, and you know, you had Goodrum in behind, and he's 1v1 with Powell, which is where he wants him. But like you say, it's just that final little bit to get the ball into the box, and you know, against experienced campaigners in QPR. Ball goes long. Thornley wins the ball against Tykes in the air. Rendell forced to put it out for a throw, but I think Moore and Thornley cope really well with Dyke's physical presence so far in the first half.
I think you're right. You know, there's not been many times where they've gone in behind and they've not lumped it forward like we thought Ainsworth might be doing it. But no, they play well off each other's shoulders. That's what they do. They play well off each other's shoulders.
Yeah, I think they're dynamic centre halves as well, which allows the team to play the high line, and you know, Dykes is never going to run away from you either. So they've been really nice and tight, but done well against the Scottish international. Here's Kakai now, just inside the QPR half with the throw. He's going to look long to Dykes. Dykes challenging with Brown. Kieran Brown wins the first ball. Clears it when Harris picks it up. Can't find Long, and Willock nips in, but Long does really, really well to nip in front. Wins the ball, finds Brannigan out on the right-hand side, into Goodrum. Goodrum on the half turn, just on the halfway line, goes back to McEachran. McEachran looking forward, Dykes putting him under pressure, and McEachran buys the free kick on the halfway line. Quick one to Harris. Harris under pressure, plays it back to Thornley. Thornley to Moore. And again, the 2 centre-halves, Oxford's exchanging passes before Moore looks into Rodriguez. Kick on round the corner, great link-up play with Harris. Ball going wide to Goodrum now as 1v1 with Powell. Into Harris, back to Goodrum. Back out to Sam Long. Harris is wide, edge of the penalty area, chance to deliver but turns it down. Back to Goodrum. Goodrum now, 25 yards out, running inside on his left, finds Rodriguez. Oh, ball tried to nip it through to Brannigan, who was making a run in behind, but well intercepted. And here come QPR. First time Richards has got in behind McEachran. Driving. Oh, it's a poor pass. Oh, but Dykes got it on the edge of the area. Free kick QPR. 18 yards out. Thornley, I think, tried to nick it. He's remonstrating with the referee.
Needs to be careful with these new guidance.
He does. He certainly does. Rhodesy, what do you think? You think that was a free kick, or you think he bought one?
I'd have gone the opposite way. I thought he just pulled him back, and Jordan Thornley had just got there and nipped in. Our referee's closer than we are, Ben, but I'm a little bit biased, but I thought Jordan had won that ball fairly, or certainly didn't give a free kick away there. This will be interesting. But not one player surrounded the referee.
Well, they've retreated now. I think Thornley remonstrated briefly, but you know, this is almost position A1 for QPR. Just off centre, Ilias Chair putting the ball down. Powell's on the ball, but Chair's the one. It's probably just outside the 18-yard box, saying 19, 20 yards out. And as a minimum, you're expecting your, international winger to hit the target in these circumstances.
Should have enough ability out there to clip it, whip it. It's not going to be a touch, it's going to be a straight strike by the looks of it.
Chair lining it up, 19 yards out, big Oxford wall. Chair comes up, straight into the wall. I think it was Kieran Brown, but ball ricochets, and again, well defended, and here comes Brannigan on the break. Into Goodrum, back to Long, into Brannigan, midway inside the Oxford half. McEachran, Brannigan playing nice in tight areas, back to Moore. Kieran Brown now out with a bit of space, Marcus Brown ahead of him. Into Brown. Brown's closed down tightly by Kakai, who nips in, wins the ball. Rodriguez does well, wins it back into Harris on the half turn. Driving infield on his right foot. Goodrum runs in behind his, Sam Long in advance. Ball into the box, whipped in. Oh, and Kakai just there in front of Kieran Brown, but he keeps it in play. Opportunity to turn, gets the ball. Nice little pass into flick. Brannigan, goal! Cameron Brannigan opens himself out beautifully. Great little interplay out. Everyone thinks Kieran Brown's going to whip the ball into the box. Finds a nice little ball. I think it was Harris. Great awareness. Flicks it back to Brannigan. Touch out of his feet. Opens his body up and slips it beyond Begovic into his left-hand corner. 1-0 Oxford.
And it's 1-0, but what a good goal. And that, for me, Ben, that comes from defending well, and we've defended the free kick, and then we've gone from right back, and we've got a plethora of QPR players over there. We've had confidence to pass it out to the left wing. We've gone back in again, and you're right. The ball in from Kieran Brown was just into feet, and Harris is just awareness is great for your big centre forward, and his little back flick, a fancy flick to Cameron, and Cameron just stroked it in far side. A thoroughly great goal, and you hear the cheers. Oh, that's a great goal, Jerome.
Well, United soaked up a fair bit of pressure, had that free kick from Chair, which they defended, and then the intensity was there to not immediately, but to gradually work their way up the pitch. And well, a couple of times when it looked like the attack had lost its momentum, it went again. I do think that Kieran Brown gets the plaudits for just a little bit of cute play when something a little bit more agricultural would have been expected. And I really think that it got the treatment it deserved with a very, very fine finish from Brannigan, curling it in at the far post. But QPR now come with Chair, cross to the near post, headed away by Kieran Brown for United. Rodriguez does well, wins a free kick. I think he won't be too unhappy with that, because there wasn't a lot of Oxford option in advance of him. And the free kick goes United's way just outside the penalty area. So 1-0 Oxford, 10 minutes before half-time, Ben.
I think a couple of points to make on the Oxford goal. One is, yes, everyone was deep inside the own penalty area defending the Ilias Chair free kick, and actually it was the interplay between Brannigan, McEachran and Long in tight spaces that encouraged the QPR press, which gave Kieran Brown the space out on this left-hand side once the ball was switched. Then the second point is, a couple of times Oxford have been down the edge of the box and we've been imploring the team to cross, whereas actually maybe it's a strategy from Manning, is when they get into those areas, rather than just whip the ball in the box, they're looking for players, and that's what Brown did. He wasn't under pressure. You thought all intents and purposes he's going to put the ball in, but he didn't. He had that little bit of composure, found Harris, and like you say, fantastic little flick that found Brannigan, and who was in an excellent position to guide it into the bottom corner. So something to look out for over the course of the season.
Not a good first half so far from a QPR perspective, but they ask a question or two here with the ball out to the near side, and a cross that comes in from Kakai, dealt with by United Marcus Brown, and Kakai's grounded, scrapping for it. Brannigan flails a left boot at it twice, and then it's a really heavy challenge from Marcus Brown that Kakai won't thank him for, but both teams will want the intensity here, and QPR get the free kick.
I think you're right, but it's nice to see we've gone one up and nobody wants to lose the ball. There's been a couple of 50-50 challenges, 60-40 challenges. Cameron Brannigan's leaving his foot in. Even Marcus Brown has stood up there and was counted, and the crowd want to see that. A little bit of, it's pre-season friendly, but no such thing as a friendly, Ben, is there?
No, there's no such thing. I mean, I guess from Manny's point of view, he'll be disappointed that the free kick's given away, because if you look at Ainsworth and QPR, they'll be seeing this as a real opportunity. So yes, love the enthusiasm and intensity, but you don't want to be conceding free kicks in this area.
Chair's free kick into the box. Oxford deal with it again. Goodrum trying to help it further away, but it will go back to the near side of the field. Once again, United players battling hard, really hard. Goodrum nicks it away after good work from Rodriguez and keeps on going. He's got two to his right. He gets the free kick. So he was trying to open his body and get the ball out to the run of Brannigan or Harris. That's a free kick and a booking next week. It might just be a free kick this week in the final match of pre-season.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a booking next week, and then you'd be looking at Goodrum and Brown to really go at the right back. But Kakai's done well, actually. He's done really well on Marcus Brown. Brown's probably been the one that's been a little bit quieter of the front four. But equally, Kakai's playing really tight.
Booking this week as well, apparently.
I think Ilias Chair, I think it was for dissent.
Yeah.
So, enforcing that protocol early, that's what we like to see. But, the point was going to be made is Kakai, if he is playing tight on Brown, that's where you need Harris to run and work into those channels, particularly against an inexperienced player such as Trent Randall, who he's now facing.
Think about it, the goal from Brannigan was a lovely curling effort past Begovic, but to be honest with you, any other time of Oxford really worked QPR in their penalty area. There's been some nice stuff around it, but it's probably the first time they really threatened inside the box. Harris now just nibbling at the heels of Kakai, who's trying to dribble it away from harm's way. The pressure of Harris has done its thing, though, and now Goodrum collects it, finds Harris 25 yards out, skips away from a challenge, shoots right-footed, never really got the oomph behind it that he was looking for. But that's still encouragement for Oxford, that they pressed, they won it, and they created a chance in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, they did. I like how positive he was as well, because I think there was an easy option, ball to Rodriguez, but he almost shaped to pass it to Rodriguez, took a touch forward in a tight area and tried to work the shot. So, yeah, the finish wasn't there, but I like the intent and I like the intensity, but that execution will come, and hopefully we'll see more of that as he gets a regular run in the side.
Ball forward here from Begovic over the halfway line. Jordan Thorney gets caught underneath it a little bit and then rather collides with Dykes, who stays down. The shot comes in from QPR's Richards on the edge of the box. He is denied, however, it wasn't much behind it from Taylor Richards. Denied by Beadle, who is effectively a teammate of him because they're both on loan from Brighton.
I think Richard signed permanent, I think on loan from Brighton last season, but I think there was
an option, was it?
No, an obligation to buy as opposed to not, which I find strange why you don't buy him in the first place. But anyway, I think, you're speaking about Oxford not really threatening inside the QPR penalty area. Well, if you're looking at it from a QPR perspective, I don't think they've threatened at all in the Oxford penalty area. So, real positive sign from a defensive point of view from an Oxford perspective.
Yeah, 3-year deal. Just been informed for Richards at QPR. He's only, I think he's 22, but he's played a lot of EFL football, particularly on loan out of Brighton. Now Willock is making a run forward here, and then more diagonal, then he's really put a lot behind it. Chair can't control it on the near side of the field. Oxford get a throw in. You've got to feel like Gareth Ainsworth would just want this first half over, because this has been horrible for QPR.
Well, I mean, not just because they're 1-0 down, because obviously Dunn's got his shoulders popped out and they're about to make a forced substitution. And being a League One side, Oxford United have certainly held their own against the Championship team, and if not more than that. But yeah, boys have done well in yellow.
Beadle hasn't had, we're talking about Begovic not really being worked apart from Oxford scoring. Beadle hasn't really had a significant save to make. Chair wasn't able to work him from the great opportunity they had from a free kick right on the edge of the penalty area, which went straight into the wall. And Oxford have won the ball back in midfield again, and QPR chasing shadows a little bit as Brannigan gets it out to the near side of the field. Marcus Brown over the halfway line with Kieran Brown in advance of him. The two exchange passes, and Marcus Brown now midway inside the QPR half, wide on the left, goes back again. Oxford retaining the football, keeping their composure, and now Mark Harris fed down the left-hand side. The wind holds the ball up nicely for him. He's able to hold it up momentarily, but Kakai's able to clear it. Brave header stooping from Jordan Thorney on the halfway line, and Rodriguez is able to carry through, and it's opened up for him to feed Harris down the left-hand side. His curling cross too close to the goalkeeper. Harris frustrated. Begovic holds it, and it's straight away a quick counter-attack for QPR down the left-hand side. 1-0 Oxford here with 3 minutes to go of the 45, the first 45. Whether we get what we should get, like 4 or 5 minutes of first half stoppage time because of the injury to Jimmy Dunn, I do feel that's not normally the way of things in pre-season friendlies, but it also feels like with a week to go, all the new protocols with much more of an eye, like we saw, for example, in the Qatar World Cup, and as we're seeing now in the Women's World Cup, all the stoppages are kind of factored in a little bit more by the officials. Did see a few people saying that if Gareth Ainsworth was still in charge at Wycombe, 3 o'clock kickoffs might finish at about 11:30, which I thought was harsh. No, clearly didn't chuckle at all at that.
It'd be really interesting, from a QPR perspective, how Ainsworth does this season. I know he's had that history with Oxford, so perhaps something. With Wickham and Oxford, so perhaps something to touch on. But he's got players in the team, like you spoke about Richards as a signing. Like, he's a fantastic footballer, but he's perhaps not your typical Gareth Ainsworth player or the typical player. Same with Chair, same with Willock. And they've just looked a little bit off today, particularly Willock. I don't think he's looked, that great.
Is Ainsworth trying to reinvent himself, maybe, as a manager of a ball-playing team?
But ultimately, he's not really had a choice because Willock's there, Chair's there already. So, Richards was a buy that they were always going to buy, and I think pretty significant investment when you look at it from where QPR in terms of a financial point of view. So, I don't think so.
Oxford play the ball forward. Marcus Brown just slips as he goes into the penalty area. It will run through to Begovic. And it's 1-0 Oxford United. Clearly, you could also say in terms of needs must that when he was at Wickham and he got them into the Championship, that, there was not the resource to put together the sort of team that was going to compete by trying to play their way out of trouble or towards to safety in the Championship.
But I agree with that. But I think, I do think his philosophy is that he wants to play in the opposite half. I think he does. He doesn't want to do, what Liam Manning does. I don't think he wants the two centre halves dropping deep and playing between themselves. He does want to go long and play in the final third. There's nothing wrong with that. And equally, Willock and Chair are individuals that if you get them the ball in the final third, they can be effective. But I think as much as anything, it's about culture. He's about togetherness. He's about getting the best out of the team, which I think he will do. But I'd like to think Liam Manning's approach will get the best out of his players as well. And on the showing we've seen so far today in this pre-season and, of course, last season, he looks like he can have that effect.
I'm not sure Liam Manning has ever been a long ball merchant as a manager.
We just had a goal kick, and I'm looking at the clock and it's 44, and they're just about to put the extra minutes up. And without shadow of a doubt, there was not even a question that we were going to play short. So maybe the rules are that if we are, 5 minutes or 3 or 4 minutes before half time, that we're just going to go long. I don't know. We need to keep an eye on that every game. But for me, there wasn't even a consideration of playing short.
2 minutes of stoppage time added, which is maybe a compromise. QPR get the ball out to the far side of the field to Willock. Closed down by Sam Long, who's had the measure of him for a lot of this half. 1-0 Oxford United lead, and QPR forced to go back into their own half and play it around between their two centre-halves at the moment. Played back now by the substitute Rendell. Back to the goalkeeper, Begovic sends it long to the halfway line. Dykes flicks it on, finds Richards, and he stumbles onto the ball. Elliot Moore, who got caught behind him, unwittingly sends it back towards his own goal as it cannons off him, and into the penalty area goes Willock, but Goodrum battles for it, nicked off him by Richards. Richards goes down wanting a free kick. Calmly, it's played back by McEachran to his goalkeeper. Clearance from the deck from Beadle, but QPR comes straight back at Oxford United, and there's an example of why managers sometimes do like a team to play out from the back rather than just hoist it forward, because it isn't necessarily a clearance if it comes straight back at you. Rodriguez runs into a challenge and wins a free kick for Oxford inside the centre circle. 1-0 Oxford. Cameron Brannigan's goal just before the half-hour mark, separating the two sides. And it was the moment of magic in this game so far. It was a good team goal as well as a fine finish from Brannigan. And this is a confidence-boosting first 45 minutes for Oxford. It's quite deflating for Queen's Park Rangers, but a lot can change both this afternoon and, of course, even in the coming days. Good header here from Kieran Brown. Marcus Brown's after it. Kakai dwells on it, but he needs some help and gets it from behind, where Rendell smashes it out of play. Throw to Oxford inside the QPR half, and the referee, I think, has seen enough here and blows the half-time whistle. And that is it for the first 45 minutes. Let's get some thoughts from Ben and from Nick Harris. Ben, first of all, I think Oxford United will be super happy, really, with the first 45 minutes. QPR, anything but.
I mean, I think Liam Manning will be really happy, I think, for a couple of reasons. Yes, the team are 1-0 up. But I think he'll be happy with the a few little hairy moments in the first 10-15 minutes, because that's what he'll want. He'll want the players to understand that this is the philosophy, this is the style we're going to play, but actually when you play it at intensity and you get the real deal next week, you're going to be under pressure, and actually this is how you deal with it. So I think he'll be really pleased with how he's done today. The team have shown the resilience to keep that clean sheet, limited QPR to chances. not had many chances ourselves, but the one we did was a well-worked goal. But I think you'll be really pleased with how the team has adapted to the QPR press and how it's shown that ability to, yes, play in the tight areas, but also late on go that little bit longer and win that second ball longer. So not fluid, not amazing, scintillating football, but I think he'll be really happy.
Nick, the goal was the standout moment in the first half in a lot of ways.
In every way, the way United played the ball out from the back in the tight situation, the way they got down the left, Kieran Brown's intelligent ball, Harris, who's seen not a lot of the ball up front, but a good ball in, and a brilliant finish by Cameron Brannigan. I think it reminds that our goals in this Oxford United side, everybody wants to see this goal-scoring centre-forward arrive, but there's plenty of players that can score goals, and that was a very good goal indeed. And I absolutely agree. United against Swansea were able to play the ball out back comfortably. Beadle, the goalkeeper, was able to dribble it. QPR wouldn't let them do that, and Oxford looked just a little bit shaky in front of their own penalty area early on. But after that, they really adapted well. And QPR, I've barely seen a championship side, friendly or not. So many misplaced passes, especially up front. Long balls to chase, going to absolutely nobody. I would think Gareth Ainsworth, also to the injury to the centre half, a non-contact injury. It's horrible when you see a player go down like that and stay down, isn't it? Obviously a bad shoulder injury. I would say it's been a very poor 45 minutes for QPR.
Ben, on that injury, and obviously it's QPR's problem, not Oxford's, but it was horrible to watch because he kind of went down in stages, and it started with a slip, didn't it? To misquote a Hot Chocolate song, and he never really recovered, did he? And it was the way he fell that caused the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're talking about going down in stages and it being horrible. I mean, for me, I think he knew that he had to put the ball out of play, so he couldn't go down straight away, and he still had the ability to be able to do that, which makes me think that actually it might not be that bad as an injury. Like, it was a shoulder, it was a slip, so he slipped. And I've seen some players. I played with a lad called Ryan Innes who played at Charlton last year, will have played against Oxford last year in League One. His shoulder would pop out all the time, just innocuously. Sometimes they'd pop it back in, and he'd be able to play within a couple of weeks. Sometimes it'd be longer than that. So, I mean, you're speaking to somebody who's never dislocated their shoulder or had much of a shoulder problem, so can't comment on the pain. I know Jimmy Dunn's a bit of a warrior, and he's a tough cookie, and if there was any chance he'd be back out there, he would be. But it's worrying for them. But equally, and perhaps very business-like in a Liam Manning sense, we're not going to be worried about that next week. We're worried about this Oxford side, and thankfully the team's come through unscathed in the first 45 minutes.
So 1-0 to Oxford United here at half-time against Queen's Park Rangers in the final pre-season friendly for the U's. Back underway right now here at the Kassam Stadium. Oxford United against Queen's Park Rangers. Oxford United's men in their final pre-season game before the start of the League One campaign next week at Cambridge. You'll hear that live with us, although not on BBC Sounds. It will be on BBC Radio Oxford and on digital radio. Here come United with Harris down the right-hand side into the penalty area. Pulls it back nicely. Step over from Marcus Brown, but it wouldn't run through to Brannigan. Nice football from Oxford, who made one change at half-time. And it's this man who's come on, Finn Stevens, who's replaced Sam Long. And I feel kind of backs up my assertion that maybe Sam Long and Finn Stevens is the debate, the most fierce debate that's going on in the Oxford United coaching staff as to whether there should be any changes for Cambridge from the starting lineup against Swansea or here. I think this is a big half for Stevens, though, Ben Perkins, as a former Oxford United right back, because Sam Long I thought was excellent in the first half dealing with Chris Willock.
Yeah, I thought Sam did really, really well. Chris Willock, probably you'd look at, if QPR are firing, probably their top threat, him and Ilias Chair. But, he was nullified in the 1v1s he had. Sam Long did really, really well. Was always really tight to Willock. So, he's done himself no harm at all. But, yeah, the message is an interesting one. If you're giving both of them 45, it's almost like you're showing that you're not really sure. And Stevens will be chomping at the bit now to give a good account of himself in this half and, put him in the manager's thoughts for next week. You would have thought he will go with Sam Long, but, maybe slightly unfairly, maybe a bit of pressure on him with Stevens expecting to play.
Taylor Richards is off for QPR, by the way, and they've brought on Charlie Kelman. Second change that Gareth Ainsworth has made today because of Jimmy Dunn's shoulder injury that saw him stretch it off in the first half. 1-0 to Oxford United after that first 45 minutes. Cameron Brannigan's goal separating the two sides. McEachran with a lovely threaded through ball to Kieran Brown in from the left flank. The left back getting forward, finding Marcus Brown by the corner flag left side. Faces up the QPR defence, and he's got a square ball or backwards ball on. Takes the backwards one to Brannigan. Left side still for Oxford. Kieran Brown trying to make a run. Just for a second, he put his weight onto his right foot. Sort of negative move. And just at that moment, Brannigan played it positively beyond him, and therefore out of play for a goal kick to Queen's Park Rangers, who trail here by 1-0.
I think I'm always disappointed when, Marcus Brown's got the ball on the byline and you end up, not really working it out, and a poor pass from Brannigan in the end. And I think, I'd like to see Mark Harris came to feet there, but I'd like to see him occupy the box so they could put the ball in there.
Harris is in possession after Rodriguez was side down. Play on, says the referee, and now Goodrum, right side of the penalty area, fizzes the ball across the box. Begovic puts his hands up towards it and then pulls them away. And it will go for a Queen's Park Rangers throw in. Rodriguez thought that he'd been fouled. He possibly had been, to be honest with you. I think the referee played advantage. Yeah, he's saying that to Rodriguez now. I was playing advantage. I was not, saying it wasn't a foul. Referee making it absolutely clear both to the player and I think to the fans as well, which I like to see. Referee today, by the way, is John Busby, Oxfordshire ref. Rare occasion for him to get a run out at the Kassam Stadium. Rodriguez showing no ill effects for the clattering challenge that came in on him. By the way, that sort of incident where Marcus Brown down by the left corner flag had an opportunity to jink into the penalty area, it would have been a chance, I think, to jink past Ilias Chair, who had to go back to defend in the right back position. So maybe should have fancied himself there. Oxford give a free kick away on the halfway line, or Cameron Brannigan does on their behalf. Free kick on the far side of the field to QPR, who trail here by 1-0. Almost 5 minutes played in the second half here, and so far this has been a pleasant afternoon from an Oxford United perspective. Challenge on Dykes from Elliot Moore that is one of those that could have been given as a free kick, and maybe if the QPR fans who are here in good number had made more of a noise, they might have got one on another day. But they are pretty passive for that, north of 1,000 fans in that north stand back in QPR, and we heard a little bit from them before the game, but a little bit like some of the incidents in the first half did to their team, it seems to have sort of knocked the stuffing a little bit out of the travelling supporters. It's a friendly, of course, they have to come and shout from the rafters or anything, but it's proving to be a tough watch this for QPR fans. Challenge from McEachran, dealt with by Willock, who spins nicely, and Chris Willock out to Chair on the far side of the field. He faces up the Northern Ireland international left back Kieran Brown. The Moroccan crosses, it hits Brown, who stays with him the whole time. The ball skews up in the air, comes back down with snow on it, and then it's dispatched into the north stand by Kieran Brown for a throw into QPR. 1-0 Oxford.
Yeah, 1-0 Oxford, and a comfortable start to the second half. Not continuing on from the first half. Really, you'd expect a bit of reaction from QPR. They've gone 4-4-2 with the introduction of Kelman, taking Richards off. Different challenge.
Ball into the Oxford box off the head of McEachran. Again, it's gone up rather than away. Foul on Rodriguez this time is given by John Busby as he was going back towards his own goal. Made a lot of minimal contact, to be honest with you, but that's good professional football.
Yeah, I've been impressed with McEachran and how he's picked up the second ball actually in that midfield. So every time the ball's gone in, there's been a 50-50 between Dykes and the Oxford centre halves, and it's dropped down. I feel like McEachran's been there and mopped it up, and I think he's done that really, really well. But from a QPR perspective, yeah, it's a pre-season friendly, but they'll want to do better than this, because they want to go in with a bit of confidence into the start of the season.
McEachran almost lost the ball. A pass from Moore has. Willock's curling shot will go wide. Beadle was flailing a little bit as he flew to his left, and I think there was a little bit of a relief from his perspective that the ball didn't cushion into the back of the net in the way that Brannigan's effort from a similar position did in the first half, and the QPR fans find their voices.
They did. The first thing they've had to really get excited about, and Chris Willock in that position, perfect position, and you just expect the net to ruffle really. But bit of a warning, I think, and we saw it a little bit in the first half. When QPR get their press right, they come at intensity, and they've got to be careful. If Elliot Moore's going to fish that ball into McEachran, he needs to really make a judgment call as to if he does put it in there, it has to be safe side of McEachran, and he has to be really sure of the pass, because if he loses it, Oxford are open, and then there's a real opportunity for QPR to exploit.
Rosie, that's as close as QPR have come this afternoon.
Yeah, I just saw that, and I thought that was going to sort of creep in on the far side, but no, Ben's right. It's that judgment call. Do you? Don't you? You're going to get caught now and again. 100%. You know, every now and again you're going to get caught, but got to believe in who you've got and who you're passing to.
From two different areas of Oxford United, Ben Purkis and Peter Rose-Brown, two ex-U's players with us this afternoon. Nick Harris, Jerome Sale, this is your commentary team as we watch Oxford United's final pre-season friendly. Long ball forward from Elliot Moore, trying to get Tyler Goodrum into the play. Heavy challenge from Finn Stevens, and he's down, nursing a head injury. There's a QPR player down as well. Stevens is really high up the pitch, and we're taking a much higher starting position in a right-back role, Ben, than Sam Long was in the first half.
He has. I mean, he's not really had that much opportunity to get into the game as yet, and like from my perspective, that was a bit of an over-eager challenge. He was never going to get there, and if I was Sam Field, I wouldn't be very, I think I pulled a very puzzled face when I saw him go in for that. He was never getting there, and his clash of heads. So, you know, I'm not seeing much of him, but he looks pretty athletic. He looks keen to get forward. I mean, I say he looks keen as a footballer. Rhodes's looking at me, quite nodding, perhaps knows a little bit more.
No, I know. We spoke to him on Tuesday. We had a commercial, and everyone had a day together with all the players. And lovely kid, lovely lad, grounded, down to earth. And I said, best position. Finney went right back, right wing back. He said, I do play midfield, but I think we're fine in there this year. He said, but he said, I just like getting forward. Bang. So, but again, he's got pace. He's got a good head on his shoulders. But I agree with you there, Ben. There was no way he was going to win that header. So, but he's only just come on as sub, so therefore that's the sort of thing.
And and we've just said he's got to try and make his mark on a game, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, there's ways of doing that. I think you're right. He's got to settle into the game. He's also got to settle into the football club first and foremost, because you know he's a new face in the building, and Sam Long's been an established player and performed consistently well throughout his time here. So he's not going to just walk into the team. But what he might give you is, or give us, is with Kieran Brown playing as that left back, and you saw he did really well with Ilias Chair in the 1v1 situation there, and he gives you that height at the back post, but he's not going to give you that marauding left back, I don't think. And if you are going to play with a three or the back four, maybe if you've got one of your ones that's marauding, you kind of have that little bit of balance. You see Man City do that. So can Stevens come in and provide that extra option?
He wins an aerial duel here, Stevens, with Willock, and Goodrum's onto a loose ball. Heavy touch from him, so it requires Jordan Thornley to step in with a clearance. Ball breaks midway inside the Oxford half to the left flank, and Willock is on it again, back into his own half. He plays it, and QPR will go back across their back line again. Gubbins to Rendell, but then it's won back by Marcus Brown, who accelerates to the left edge of the penalty area. 3-away Matt in the box. He pulls it back to Brannigan, whose touch is heavy, and it will peter out frustratingly for Oxford. Marcus Brown gives away a free kick as QPR try and quickly turn defence into attack, and Oxford stop that transition. Good and bad in equal measure there, Rosie, I would say.
Just a great attack from Marcus Brown, and he just put the afterburners on, and he's gone straight past the centre half. And right thing to do to check back. I mean, there were people in the box, but Cameron Brannigan once again just waits for that pass, and he's just overcooked the pass, didn't he?
Here's Rendell playing it forward for QPR. Kieran Brown underneath it, wins it in the air in the challenge at the back post. Willock infield. Dozzell turning inside the centre circle. Chair takes a touch. Gubbins takes a touch. Rendell, who came on as that first half sub for the stricken, done. Confidently across the back line. Gubbins left-footed back to him. Oxford are pressing with Rodriguez and Harris. Now QPR go long. Kieran Brown's trying to shepherd it out of play. Battling for it with the other sub that's come on, Charlie Kelman. And he's done well. Wins the throw-in as well, Kieran Brown. 1-0 Oxford United after 57 minutes play in the sunshine at the Kassam Stadium. This is BBC Radio Oxford. 1-0 Oxford United leading against QPR. Earlier on, Brackley 1, Oxford City 0. A result 0-0 between Banbury and Maidenhead in another pre-season friendly ongoing this afternoon. Harris for Oxford United drags the ball back, wins the throw-in on the halfway line. It's a little bit more eerie today. The friendly against Swansea had fewer people in the ground, but kind of a bit more of an intense atmosphere under the floodlights than this one. QPR, I think, perhaps could up the atmosphere if they could make an impact on the game, get their fans going a little bit more. North Stand only has QPR fans in, right up almost to the halfway line, although there are pockets of empty seats within their allocation, but not much. East Stand's got a couple of sections open, same sort of situation in the middle of the South Stand, which is pretty packed around us as Rodriguez plays it into the penalty area. This is great from Harris. It's a lovely take and a lovely finish from Mark Harris, who smashes it high into the net, having been fed a peach of a ball into the penalty area. That was a very, very nice striker's goal. And Oxford United, as we approach the hour mark here, lead by 2-0.
Fantastic finish, great composure from both Harris and Rodriguez with the ball in, but it all comes from playing the ball around at the back. It actually goes back to Beadle from Goodrum, goes out to Kieran Brown, and it's a little bit messy. Marcus Brown, header comes back in, and Brannigan manages to settle the play. All of a sudden, because you've beaten the press, Rodriguez has got space on the right-hand side. Brannigan finds him, and again it looks like he's just going to whip it into the box, but he doesn't. He finds a lovely pass into Harris, great weight. The touch from Harris is perfect, sets himself on his right foot, and he smashes it past Begovic. And fantastic goal, and Manning will be delighted that Harris is off the mark.
I think so, and I think he'll be absolutely thrilled with the way this team is set up, because that goal looked like a goal from October or November to me, a team that knew exactly what it was about and had complete belief and understanding in each other, and that is really, really positive from an Oxford United perspective, as we still play in July right now. Good interception there with some help from Harris, the goal scorer, tackling back. Marcus Brown now is able to get it infield to McEachran, who sprays it out to Stevens, and Brannigan takes it on the run ponderously. QPR watch the ball almost come to the edge of their box. Brannigan was right on his toes, nicks it, and just too heavy to set himself up for a similar sort of opportunity, Rosie.
Yeah, you go from left back to right wing, and the crossfield balls are good. You've got some great players in there with some great vision, and as I said early on, it's about making sure that you believe in your players that you're passing to.
Finn Stevens dangles a boot there, could have given a penalty away right on the apex of his box, but it's now played in by Willock to the near post, and Beadle is there to make the catch, and the Oxford United goalkeeper has it. And for a young man, and he is just a teenager, in a position that you normally talk about experience being so important, Beadle somehow exudes the sort of confidence that defenders in front of him will be really happy to feel around him, I guess.
Yeah, he's not looked like a young, inexperienced goalkeeper today. I mean, he's not had much to deal with, but again, people do say that as a goalkeeper that can be, somewhat challenging because you're not involved in the game so much. But he's looked calm in possession. I thought his pass out to Brown for the goal, I know it didn't lead directly to goal, but it was clever because he recognised the press from chair. He knew he could go high to Brown because there'd be nobody pressing him, and he did it with confidence. Now, okay, that comes from instruction from the manager, but he's a young goalkeeper. He can play with his feet. He looks confident in the air. His position looks good. I can see him on the edge of his box now, and he just looks... maybe a cliche, but he's got a mature head on his shoulders, and looks like he's settled in well.
2-0 to Oxford United then at BBC Radio Oxford Sport. Stevens had sent a ball down the right-hand side. Not his first loan, by the way. On loan from Brentford. He was at Swansea last year in the Championship. Didn't play a huge amount of games for the South Wales club. He'll be wanting to get more, but he's got his work cut out to get a starting place for Oxford United, given the pre-season form of Sam Long at right back. QPR come forward now down the right-hand side. Chair trying to ghost into the box. Right-footed cross into the penalty area now. Kakai will see it go right through the box, and Goodrum gets it clear. Rodriguez almost nicks it and almost opens up some real room, but Willock now has it for QPR, and he goes into the penalty area. An interception from Stevens, reads it well, plays a nicely weighted ball down the right-hand side that gives Harris something to work with, forces something of an error there from Gubbins, and it's a throw-in to Oxford United just inside the Queen's Park Rangers half. 62 minutes played here, 2-0 to Oxford United.
(2-0 to Oxford). A poor throw from Stevens between Stevens and McEachran, and we've seen a yellow card brandished for McEachran. Again, looks like the new protocol being enforced. He just cheeky little kick of the ball away, which typically would kind of go, you get an eye roll from the referee, but you wouldn't necessarily get the yellow. But yellow card brandished for McEachran now. QPR switch the ball out to Dykes. Stevens nips in, good defensive header, clears his lines. Here's Powell. The throw just inside the Oxford half, looking ahead of him, but minimal movement from QPR, which has been the story of the day today, really. Ball goes into Dykes, into Kelman now, who manages to get the ball on the half-term in the Oxford box. Good block from Moore. McEachran mops it up on the edge, but Field nips in. Again, McEachran nips in to Goodrum. Field with an aggressive tackle, wins the ball cleanly, and a ball to Willock. Goodrum reacts, steps in front of Willock and helps out Stevens to win the free kick for Oxford. Probably 25 yards out from goal, just near the touchline.
Joshua McEachran, by the way, is still talking to the referee, Ben, and he's had his yellow card, and under the new rules, if he keeps going, he's going to get a red. So he's just got to, I think the players have got to buy into it, which is the right thing to do, and also the fans have got to realise that things will change this year, because, say, the FA are really clamping down on players with the officials.
Beadle goes long from the free kick, but Harris can't get it under control, rolls through to Begovic, who plays it out to Rendell with a degree more urgency. Rendell, Kakai on the ball now in the right back slot for QPR, into Chair, exchanges passes, Kakai gets it back, but Rodriguez nips in, finds Harris, decent touch, retains possession comfortably and recovers to Elliot Moore. Moore now just inside his own half, out to Stevens, he's being pressed by Willock. Ball into Goodrum. Parler left back tight with him, forces him back, but he turns, links with Stevens, retains possession comfortably, now back out to Thornley. Thornley to Moore. Press from Dykes. Moore with a clever ball into Rodriguez, who tries to hook it round the corner, but a little bit overcooked. And Parle able to recover well with Begovic, allow QPR to reset. Begovic is looking long to Dykes. Dykes comfortably brings it down on halfway with his chest and sets the ball back to Parle. Brannigan in tightly to the midfield, but only diverts it to Gibbons at centre half for QPR. Tries to reverse it, more intercepts. McEachran, great ball into Harris, sets to Rodriguez. Brown on the run, he's through 1v1, goes to lift it over Begovic. Goal! Marcus Brown, great up back through, brilliant link interplay, ball into Harris, set to Rodriguez. Brown, not seen him too much today, but he times his run perfectly, lifts it over Begovic. The goalkeeper gets a hand to it, but Brown's there to put it into the empty net. 3-0 Oxford.
Unbelievable. That's the pass back, the runner through in midfield. Great little touch from Marcus Brown. He's tried to loft it over the keeper. He ended up heading the ball on the goal line, but Josh McEachran's great pass, and for me that's great play, Jerome. Great play from Oxford United.
I'm pleased because I think Marcus Brown has really been struggling to make an impact on this game, and he's a frustrated figure when that's the case. And there, he made the absolutely intelligent run that was brilliantly picked out for him, and United are going to take that moment to make a couple of changes. Josh McEachran's going to come off and Marcus McGuane will replace him, and the other key protagonist in that moment, Marcus Brown, is also withdrawn, and Stan Mills gets his first taste of life at the Kassam Stadium. That's a good way to end your involvement for those two, isn't it, as McEachran and Brown go off?
Yeah, and they've fantastic contributions over the 66 minutes they've been on the field, but maybe it indicates Manning's thinking with Mills and McGuane coming on as two that perhaps would be the most disappointed of those on the bench that aren't featuring. And here's Mills on the ball, receives it from Stevens on the half turn and finds Harris. Rodriguez driving forward, playing with more confidence now in the second half. Out to Mills. Good positive touch as he sets it back to Stevens. Nice little chip. Oh, unfortunately, just ahead of Rodriguez, who was in space on the corner of the box, but clever little ball from Stevens attempted there.
I mentioned at the start of the programme that the match programme, the Matchday magazine as they used to call it, is a little play on what was the programme for the 1986 Milk Cup final. Same sort of design on the front cover. Same scoreline as well right now. Oxford United 0, Queen's Park Rangers. Oxford United 3, Queen's Park Rangers 0.
I know Will said that third goal was, a tap in from Marcus Brown.
Stevens switched it from right to left. Good touch from Goodrum, and Kakai brings him down, and Goodrum looks at the referee, but nothing given. Ball now cleared to Moore, picks it up. Brown recovers into McGuane. Again, Oxford numbers round the ball, win the ball back, settle nicely to Beadle.
What are you saying, Rosie? Missed out.
That little tap in from Marcus Brown was similar to Jeremy Charles's tap in, the third. Even though if you ask Jeremy Charles how far it wasn't a 2-yard tap in with his left peg. It was like a 30-yard driver.
Probably had more work to do there than Jeremy Charles did. It was all John Aldridge, wasn't it, for that goal? By the way, as when that third goal went in at Wembley, a lot of QPR fans leaving the ground here today. Well, that was the sort of 80 or 88th minute or something, wasn't it?
Goodrum again, the ball, aimless ball picked up, but Goodrum picks up the second. He's driving forward and he's giving Kakai a few problems now. Nipped in front. Maybe could have had a shout for a penalty a couple of minutes earlier, but nips in front, coming in off that left-hand side with Mills now going out to the right and wins a free kick. Brannigan over the ball with Rodriguez. They're looking interested, but 30, 35 yards out here centrally. I'm not sure. Well, unless Rodriguez, he looks like he might be fancying a shot.
I think the difference this year to last year, I'm just looking at everyone seems to be on the front foot, Ben. Everybody's on the front foot and is going forward and anticipating things that are going to happen.
Worry now, and this is a kind of nice problem to have, is actually keeping people's feet on the ground.
Rodriguez short to Brannigan, plays it out to Stevens, quickly to Mills. Brannigan now running in behind. Mills finds him. Stevens available, chooses Rodriguez, back to Brannigan. Come back out now with McGuane, switches it to Thornley, who's in acres of space on that left hand side, finds Brown. Brown now midway into the QPR half, back to McGuane, back to Thornley, keeping good control possession now Oxford. Here's Moore on the halfway line, finds Stevens, Stevens back to Moore, nice little ball into Rodriguez who's found space, finds Harris now, Harris quickly switches to Brannigan, he's got Goodrum on his left, he finds him inside the box, Borkus, Goodrum there inside the box, swings it across with his left foot. Unfortunately, Rodriguez not able to make it, but good piece of interplay. Again, playing in those tight areas, switching the ball. Harris comes off and finds a lovely bit of space and links the play fantastically to Brannigan, who finds Goodrum, who perhaps could have done a little bit better with his cross.
I think it's his left foot, it's his weaker foot, but you're right, I think he's just got to drill it a little bit lower. Not too sure if he can pick anybody out there, Ben, but he's got to drill it a little bit harder and a bit lower, but more options on the ball. And as soon as you get the ball, whether you're right back or left wing or midfield, if you've got more options on the ball, you're going to keep it more often than not.
Oxford control possession again from the Begovic goal kick. Here's Rodriguez now playing with a bit more confidence, linking well with Harris. Harris out to Brown, who's high. He's onside, crosses the ball in. Oh, Rodriguez arrives perfectly, but great save from Begovic. Ball cleared to Dykes. Thornley and McGuane battling with Dykes and Kelman for the ball. There's Brannigan. Oxford again come up with the ball, regain control. Here's Moore. Passes in exchange with Brannigan and McGuane. Puts his arm up to settle the play. Again now to Thornley, playing with some real confidence, the Oxford two centre-halves. Into Brannigan, now switches out to Brown. Oxford in total control at this current moment of the game. And here's Mills. He's onside, he's 1v1. And it's 4. Again, too easy. Mills comes in, he's in off the right-hand side. QPR back 4, nowhere to be seen. They're all looking round at each other, and Mills, calm as you like, opens himself up and finds the far corner and makes it 4 to Oxford.
What a moment for Mills. brilliant run, brilliant find, horrific defending. QPR's away end is absolutely emptying on the far side of the field, and it's one of those situations where you almost feel like the manager might be under pressure because of what's going on in a pre-season friendly. It's, from an Oxford United point of view, pinch yourself stuff again in a pre-season friendly.
I think the timing of the run was perfect. He looked offside because he made that run, but the linesman was right on line and didn't give it, not even contemplating putting his flag up. But there are not too many complaints from the QPR defence, a lot of complaints from the QPR fans.
There's McGuane out to Stevens. Oxford player oozing confidence now into Mills. Field does well to ring it back, finds Willock. Willock's been quiet in this second half, not seen much of him at all. Back to Gibbons at centre half. Comes into Dazelle again, been quiet in that midfield, almost overrun by Rodriguez, Brannigan and latterly McGuane. Kakai plays the ball over the top to Chair. Another one who's been quiet in this half, kept quiet by Kieran Brown. Oxford retain possession, but here's Kelman, wins the ball back, looks to shoot, but it's tame effort. Mills regains possession to Brannigan, really tight in that middle of the pitch, so many bodies in there, but Oxford defending really well at this current moment in time. Out to Chair, finds Kakai in the box, it's 1v1, stands it up to Dykes, but Moore nips in with a great header. Here's Willock. Still a bit of pressure in the Oxford box, but Oxford back in numbers. Chair now, 35 yards from goal, going 1v1 with Brannigan, looking to find a bit of space. Out to Kakai on the right. Brown engages, back to Chair. Chair again, trying to find a little angle to put the ball in the box. Beats Brannigan. Out to Kakai. Ball comes in. There's Kelman. Little turn, he's trying to set himself. Moore clears. But QPR recycle the boys. Kakai again on the edge. Field with the shot. But he's leaning backwards 18 yards out and just floats it over the Oxford United goal.
4-0 to Oxford United if you're just joining us, and just kind of reflecting on a couple of moments from the last game of pre-season last year. You'll remember, you may not, because it doesn't matter much, but Cameron Brannigan missed a penalty in a 0-0 draw at AFC Wimbledon, who were about to go into League Two, and you start to think, great performance from Oxford, but by no real stretch of the imagination, it was not a good season. This, actually, you feel like there is going to be going to need to temper the enthusiasm a little bit after some of the football Oxford have played in the second half, and what we're witnessing now might just do that, because the aforementioned Brannigan is down receiving some treatment.
Yeah, Amy's come on, just like an ankle. I hope he's okay. But no, you're right. Just you want people to have a buzz about the place and the high expectations. You just have to just keep a lid on it, just in case. But the boys might get carried away, nor will the gaffer. Coaching staff won't.
But what about, I mean, you don't want to get complacent, you don't want to think we've cracked it, but some of the performance today must...
Against the team, I mean, these will probably be mid-table next season, so they're not bad. They're better than what we've seen today for sure. But they've been really poor because we've been so good, I think.
The confidence you feel that Oxford will have. Now, if they were, I kind of feel like you want them to be playing a derby or something next week after a game like this. They cannot go to Cambridge thinking they just can turn up.
There is no chance that they're going to be in that mindset, 100%.
No, I think they've had a real professionalism about the team, and I really like the way in which the units travel together. And I spoke there briefly about the numbers around the ball, and they're almost getting in each other's way, but they were trying to win the second balls, and there's a real compactness to the team, and I think that comes from Harris up front, who presses, which enables Moore and Thornley to play really high. You get the fullback tight to your wingers, and so for me, the real positive, the individuals, but how everyone's operated within that team structure, I think will be the most pleasing thing. And you can see a real identity for the side, and that hasn't changed with the substitutions who've come on the pitch. And QPR are struggling as a football club. They did struggle last year. They've lost quality, so they'll probably struggle within the Championship, but they're still a Championship side with some really good players. So, some real positives for Liam Manning, but, I don't think they'll get carried away against Cambridge, which will be a completely different test.
Some subs for Oxford United. Coming on for the U's, Gatlin O'Donkor, who's replaced Mark Harris, who's been among the goals today. It's one of the changes that United have made. Bodin on as well for Rodriguez. And, happily, no change required for Cameron Brannigan, who's back on his feet and back in the midfield. 2 players on for QPR, the former Middlesbrough and Aston Villa man, Albert Adoma, and Dominic Gate, the former Wickham man, who I believe is trialling for QPR, and he's got 13 minutes to make an impact here against a team that he's played quite a lot for, or quite a lot against, as a Wycombe Wanderers player under Gareth Ainsworth, who patrols the technical area, looking like a slightly forlorn Wild thing just at the moment. O'Donkor wrestled to the ground, play on, says the referee. I think QPR players have realised if they are going to go down to a heavy scoreline here, and they've got to at least show a little bit of fight for the fans that have decided not to make an early trip back to West London. 4-0 Oxford United leading here. Cameron Brannigan got his goal in the first half, and then Mark Harris and Marcus Brown and Stan Mills on target for the U's in the second half, as the ball's floated rather aimlessly into the United penalty area there by Parle, who looks as frustrated as anyone in the hoops of QPR this afternoon. McGuane for United, out to Stevens, who made his Championship debut against QPR last season for Swansea in a victory, a 1-0 victory that Swansea had over QPR. Continues his run down the right-hand side, but the ball is scuttled off to the left, and Goodrum gets a touch, and Brannigan now back to Jordan Thornley, and it's not quite Olay stuff from Oxford, but it's not far off it at the moment. On that day when Stevens made his Swansea debut against QPR, QPR had 7 of the players who featured today in their starting lineup in the Championship. Oxford United, playing the same day against Burton Albion, had 3 of the players that started here today, and they were Brannigan, Kieran Brown and Sam Long.
I think if we do look at the QPR the team, and I think just for context, if you look at the 2 centre-halves that are playing with the exit of Jimmy Dunn, you've got Gubbins, who has only made a handful of league appearances, and the replacement Rendell.
Hold that thought. So O'Donkor is fouled as he scampers towards goal. I don't think there was much of an impact in the challenge, but the QPR players are more concerned with how he got behind rather than whether the free kick should have been given or not.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen O'Donkor's giving Rendell problems already, and with his physicality, and against a more experienced centre half, you wouldn't expect that really. I know O'Donkor's played a little bit and did that at League One, but if you're playing against Jimmy Dunn as an example, I wouldn't expect that. So that's kind of the context that we're trying to provide. And at Rendell, I don't think has made a league appearance and has been loaned out to the lower leagues last year. So yes, you're playing against some really experienced players, some good players, but the 2 centre halves in key positions are very inexperienced, and don't think it's going to be that easy for Harris and Rodriguez to pick the 2 off at Cambridge next week.
Watford will be rubbing their hands if they see the footage of this, though, won't they, at the prospect of a home game against QPR on the opening day of the Championship season, although things can be very different when we get into actual competitive football. Here's O'Donkor, curls away from a challenge and curls a cross in that's blocked and behind for a corner to Oxford United, who are not giving it up here.
No, for certain. I mean, we're leading 4-0, and we get a free kick, 35 yards out at an angle, and then I think on a general match day, if we're 1-0, 2-0, you'd stick that in the box and make runs and try and get another goal. But when you're 4-0 up, we've played it short, and we've played it around little triangles. We've got it into feet, and I think at the moment with the scoring like it is, I think we're just trying to keep doing good habits.
Brannigan plays the corner in. It's attacked by Jordan Thornley, who's headed in the 5th for United. Glancing header. Begovic beaten at the far post after the corner came in from Brannigan. It was, given Oxford have scored some very pretty goals today, as routine as you might expect, but cross comes in, header, goal, 5-0 Oxford.
Well, we don't get many set pieces, do we? And that's a pleasant surprise. I think it might be our first or second corner of the game, to be fair, but it's a good little clip in. But you'd expect, it wasn't hit with a lot of pace to the corner, you'd expect a big centre-half to come and head the ball or somebody to be committed. But Jordan Thornley, timing-wise, he just headed it down and it just casually bounced into the far end of the far side of the pitch. The goal, Ben, crazy goal.
I just wonder, Ben, whether, it's not QPR aren't our worry, but this is a catastrophic day. As pre-season friendlies go, this is as bad as it gets.
It is. I was trying to think of any, terrible pre-season.
But this happens, in the first couple of weeks, and you say, we haven't done any ball work, we haven't done any shape or anything like that.
I almost think this game is almost the indication of how your pre-season's gone, and whether the work and the ideas that you've tried to build into the team have been effective. And from a Oxford perspective, you'd say an emphatic yes. From a QPR perspective, it would be an emphatic no. Now, you can touch on some of the problems that QPR have, but equally, I'm not sure what other centre-halves they have in the building. They signed Fox from Stoke, who's predominantly a left-back throughout his career. Well, they've got Parle, who's an experienced left-back, so maybe Fox could play centre-half. But, yes, it is pretty catastrophic, and you just look at how soft that goal was. It was a ball in from Brannigan, and as I'm watching it, I'm thinking, it's a bit floaty, there's not much in there. And Oxford haven't got imposing centre-halves that are going to head the ball. And I think Thornley was being marked by Sam Field, who's an experienced campaigner.
He was second favourite to win that, I thought, Thornley.
Well, yeah, but you'd expect nowadays when centre-halves or when teams set up, they tend to have one free who's going to come and head the ball. Now, QPR didn't seem to have anyone like that, and that for me looks like a glaring weakness in a EFL team. So from a QPR perspective, it's not our issue and what we're here to see, but they do have problems as a football club.
Here's the ball bobbling on the edge of the Oxford United penalty area. Dykes trying to lay it off. Out to the near side it comes to Chair, who is a player of absolute quality, and we just haven't seen any of it today. Out to the near side of the field. Parle is denied by Mills, stands strong, does not have any sort of fragilities you might expect from a 19-year-old. This is a solid physical specimen. He wins the throw in there. Crowd being announced has been north of 4,500. As the ball's whipped into the Oxford United penalty area, Beadle, the goalkeeper, gathers it comfortably. There were well more than 1,000 QPR fans, so the attendance figure that's just been announced doesn't reflect how many people are inside the ground now, with Oxford United leading here by 5-0 with 5 minutes to go. I just think that maybe Liam Manning, as a free kick's given away by Billy Bodin right in front of him, the Oxford United boss, might be the perfect character to get your feet back on the floor if you're a player after a 5-0 win in the final pre-season friendly. Can't imagine Liam Manning goes in and puts the music on loud.
Correct, and I think he'll be the first one to say, okay, we've done okay of what we've worked on. Cambridge away will be a totally different ball game,
and he'll be looking at what went right. I suspect he'll also be able to find things that haven't gone quite so well.
He'll be coding the game, won't he, Rhodesy, straight away? That's what he does, doesn't he? He does the coding he watches a game, does the clips. Does he go into the dressing room afterwards and address
yes, he does. Yeah, he does. But he'll only have the same amount of time if he lost 3-0 and if he's won 5-0. So, everything's the same.
I say that when Dean Smith was my manager at Walsall, he would do exactly the same. He would do a couple of minutes at the end of the game, and then he'd leave it till Monday. And whether you won 5-0 or whether you lost 5-0, it'd be the same. And I think it gives you a real stability as a footballer.
I said to him the other week, and I said, listen, obviously we do the man in the match presentation afterwards upstairs, and I said, if you need to lock the door and have them for another 10 or 15, I said, we'll wait. And he went, don't need to do that. He said, if there's any issue, we'll do that on Monday. He said, you can have them consistently after 10 minutes after every game.
I'll tell you what, if he ever does lock the dressing room, you're in trouble, don't you?
can't now. The players are well pleased.
5-0 to Oxford United. QPR looking for a consolation goal. Who'd have thought that? Back pass here from Thornley, who got the 5th Oxford United goal, to his keeper, Beadle, who takes... And I like that, because we know that he can play and all the rest of it, but he wants his clean sheet, and he puts it out of play for a throw-in, because you're not going to score from a throw-in midway inside the half. Ability to vary it based on the game situation, with 3 minutes to go in the match. 5-0 Oxford United. Thornley with a header away from a right-wing cross from the substitute Adoma, and out of play it will go for another throw-in.
When we went 3-0 up, and I was thinking all we need to do is now get through this game without any injuries, without any, nobody being silly and that, but it looks like, well, fingers crossed, 87 on the clock. The boys have put in a decent shift and will benefit from this.
And two QPR fans frustrated over how long their team took to take a throw in. Now they're frustrated as Oxford United have won the ball back, and Gudrun gets O'Donkor going. Left edge of the penalty already. 2 teammates up in support, but he's going it alone, and he's hit the post. Begovic was beaten. It hits the near post and flies across the face of goal, and will go out of play for a throw into QPR, and it was really close to being goal number 6.
I mean, I'm grimacing as he hits it, because I feel for QPR a little bit as a football club, but the ball's over the top. It's so easy. Like, he's in 1v1. He actually stumbles on the ball in the box. He's still able to get there, and I'm thinking he's not getting a shot off, and he does, and he pings on the inside of Begovic's post. Unfortunately for QPR, goes out for a throw, but, a shame for Gatlin, because he would be really, almost desperate to get a goal with the amount of goals and chances that Oxford have had this afternoon.
Just sense QPR fans who've left turn the radio on and hearing kind of Radio Oxford being sympathetic to their championship team, probably making it feel even worse. Oxford United 5, Queen's Park Rangers 0, with about 90 seconds to go. And it could have been 6. The first half was, let's be honest, was a relatively even game. Oxford maybe just good value for a 1-0 advantage. The second half has been, well, sensational from a United perspective. It's been borderline embarrassing from a QPR perspective, and I'm sure those in blue and white might be saying there's no borderline about it. It is only a pre-season friendly, but there'll be very, very different emotions between these two. Stevens gets caught with 2 QPR players around him, does enough, doesn't overcommit. It's out of play for a throw-in to QPR. If in the straight battle between Long and Stevens, though, to start a right back next week, for me, Long has shaded it today. Left-footed ball into the box there from Field. It's deflected. Doma will lay it off to Chair on the near side. And then Chair tries to step in between Stevens and Mills. Oxford get it clear. QPR are trying to get this consolation goal in. It might leave them vulnerable to a last-minute counter-attack here. If Goodrum or McGuane can collect it. They can't. So Kalman now for QPR. Out to the far side of the field. Kakai maybe to cross. Decides not to. Adoma is fed. Sweeps in a cross that's blocked by Thornley. Cleared away by Brannigan. And the final score here is a little hard to believe, even in a pre-season friendly. QPR fans booing, Oxford United fans really pinching themselves. They may be believing this could be quite a year for Oxford. Again, caution, it's a pre-season friendly. It's finished 5-0 to Oxford United against Championship side QPR.
We'll say, though, it's just got to be careful not to get carried away. I think, not just as supporters, but, Ben's the next player, so am I, and we know you've had a great pre-season and you win every game and you're brilliant. That's when you're going to struggle. But you want to be pushed. You want to be, you want to be pushed at some stage. But that's just an incredible performance against a decent team. That's 2 on the trot now. However, the work starts now for next Saturday. We know Cambridge is a tight pitch. We know that they're going to be totally different than QPR and Swansea. We know that they're going to be in our face and it's going to be difficult. We went there last year and lost, and it's going to be a totally different game than it is today. But from the signs that we've seen, everybody wants the ball. We can mix it. The boys have been quite physical as well when we needed to be. I'm optimistic, but I'm still again, realistic as well that it ain't over. It'll be totally different next Saturday.
Ain't over. It hasn't even started yet.
No, but I mean, people think that this is it, but it's a positive thing the way we've done it so far, and Liam's got everyone playing in the right way.
Ben, that looked like mid-season form for Oxford.
Well, I mean, if that's going to be the mid-season form, then we'll take that and we'll be doing pretty well. I think, Liam Manning will have got a lot out of that game today. I think probably one of the things that might even concern him is the fact that the team ran away with it so well in the second half, and you don't want that overconfidence. So I'm sure part of his role next week will be to keep the lads grounded and make sure that the attitude and approach is right for Cambridge next week. I think it was a good test early on, the first half in particular, but I felt like the team was always in control of the game from minute one. I don't feel like QPR had many opportunities, if any, on Beadle's goal, and the back four did really well. But the most encouraging thing will probably be the link-up play in the second half between Rodriguez and Harris. I know QPR changed shape. They went from a 3 in the middle to a 2 up front, 2 in the middle, and I think Oxford just controlled the game, controlled it even more from then on. And from minute 1 to minute 90, a real impressive performance. But it counts for nothing. No points available today, nothing available, but hopefully it gives the lads some confidence and demonstrates that they can play against some really fantastic footballers.
Nick Harris has been watching the game here. I mean, that was something else. I mean, it's pre-season, but I'm not sure I've ever seen a pre-season game quite like that.
I don't think it's in the second half like that from an Oxford United pre-season. Yeah, of course we've got to keep our feet on the ground. Everybody keeps telling us, but I can't help but being just a little bit excited after that second half performance. Oh, there's some scintillating football from United. So nice to see.
Yeah, less the scoreline, more the performance in some ways.
Oh, yeah, and nice to see the new lads scoring goals. Obviously Mills, it's good, Thornley and Rodriguez, who didn't probably have the best first half, but him and Harris combined so well in that second half. They look like they're going to be a real threat, and Harris, I like him up front. I don't know if he's going to score enough goals. He needed a goal for Oxford United, and the one he got was an absolute cracker. I got to say, Jerome, I got to feel a lot happier than I did, say, 12 months ago at the start of the season. It's a long way to go, but boy, that was encouraging.
Could talk about a lot of individuals, Ben, but for a player to come on as a sub 48 hours after signing for a team, and he's 19, Mills looked like he just stepped in to a team that he'd been playing with for 6 months.
He did. I'd like to see the goal again, because from where we were, he looked like if he wasn't offside, he should have been. So I don't quite know where the QPR back four were, but he took his goal really well. It was a nice, he clearly on the right hand side of midfield, he wasn't going to just stay out wide and not get involved in the play. He wanted to link up. He wanted to get in threatening positions. Excellent. Second point I'd say is I liked how he was helping Stevens out when Stevens was down at right back. He was 1v1 with Willock a couple of times. No issue whatsoever for Mills in terms of tracking the left full back, in terms of helping out, in terms of getting involved, and I think that's almost like a prerequisite for Liam Manning and how he expects his wingers to play. So yes, I'd be encouraged by the goal, and great for him to settle in and prove what he can do, and hopefully that'll give him some confidence. But I like what I saw in terms of his just general attitude and willingness to contribute to the team as much as anything else.
We'll talk more about this on the Dub. Our Oxford United podcast will drop Monday tea time. You get that wherever you get your podcasts. Ben, Robin Cowan, George Ellick and myself for that. Join us for our season preview on that podcast on Monday. We'll get reaction to this game from the Oxford United boss Liam Manning in the final hour of our programme this afternoon for you. We've got Liam Manning, the Oxford United boss, ready to talk to us after a 5-0 victory over Queen's Park Rangers. Liam, tell me why we shouldn't get excited after that.
Ultimately, because it's a pre-season game and you don't get points for it. I think that's the biggest bit. Look, there's some terrific stuff. I actually think if you break the game down, the first 20-25 minutes, we found it quite difficult. And the build up, and you could feel it around the place, a little bit nervy. Obviously there's some new stuff for the fans to see in terms of how we want the team to play. But it's a case of trust me, stick with it. The players were working really hard to solve the problems, and then when you get it right, you then get what we saw from sort of probably 35-40 minutes onwards. So it's a work in progress. It's not going to be perfect straight away, but there was a huge number of positives to take, and the lads should take confidence from into next week, definitely.
I knew I could rely on you. Thank you for that. Tell me though about the way that team was gelling, the individuals, the way that they worked as a unit. That looked like maybe more like mid-season form than you expect a week before the season.
Yeah, I have to give credit to the staff and the players. We've done a huge amount of work. There's so much work that goes on at the training ground, whether it be on the pitch, whether it be video work, individual meetings, unit meetings. There's a huge amount of work. So that what happened today is not just off the cuff. It's a lot of hard graft, and I think probably the most pleasing thing for me today was the behaviours. I thought when we a few goals ahead, the behaviours were still consistent. Still in the last 5 minutes showed a real desire to defend our box and do the stuff which for me I think sometimes gets underappreciated in football. Too many people look for the wow moments in possession, but for me I'm always look how do we react when we lose it. How do we, how hard do we work to get behind the ball? Do we attack it? Do we defend? Do we block? All them bits they're the bits that gets you points as well as the good football.
I know you work on finishing right at the end of your pre-season. That must have been quite rewarding for you today, though.
Yeah, we started on it this week. To be fair, I think we touched on it this week and got more to do. It's a case of obviously covering off some of the principles of how we play. And yeah, I think we were quite clear what we need is got firepower and. I thought Sparky was terrific today in terms of setting the tone out of possession, but then also you can play into his feet. He runs at depth. He competes on long ones. I thought he set a real good tone from the front today and gives us that outlet. So him, Brownie. I thought Tyler was really bright. I go through the whole team to be fair, and I think there was a lot of real positive individual performance as well as collectively.
Do you still want more in terms of striking options?
Yeah.
How are you getting on with that?
Yeah, we're working hard on it, and I have to say, I give a huge amount of credit to Gats. Gats still at 18. I think he's really shown a bit between his teeth recently in training, which I think is important, and that's transferred into games. It doesn't surprise me that he's performing better in games from what the start of pre-season looked like. So he came on, had a really positive impact. Obviously hit the post, had a really good opportunity, and again I think what we have got is options in attack, and I think if we want to do well, that's going to be really important.
You've obviously got to manage players who didn't even get on the pitch today that might be thinking, or might have on other circumstances be thinking they might be in your starting 11. It's a nice problem for you to have, of course.
Yeah, it is. Of course, look, for me, it's a challenge. It's not about keeping everybody happy. I think that's really important to stress. It's about keeping everybody focused and everybody buying into the team. And look, it's a challenge, and I understand people get disappointed and get emotional about and not wanting what they want individually. But I think I'm quite clear. My job's to pick a team to be successful and build a squad that's competitive, that has depth. So if we have to make changes, we've got strong options to step in, which again you see today. I thought people coming off and people coming on, it showed some of the strength we've got. So yeah, I think that most important bit, and I deliver it every recruitment meeting, is it's the team first. Don't put the team yourself ahead of the team.
Do you think there might be another new face in your squad for Cambridge?
Not sure at the minute, to be fair. We are working hard, but it's quite difficult to know time frames. So yeah, we'll see how the week goes. We'll be working hard behind the scenes, and we'll see.
Good luck keeping everyone's feet on the ground over the next few days after that. It was fun to watch. See you at Cambridge. Thank you.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Liam Manning there, the Oxford United boss, with his views. We'll get some more reactions as well from the Oxford United camp in the next few minutes here at BBC Radio Oxford. Andrew O'Neill and fake, and I don't think there was much fake about Oxford United's performance here at the Kassam Stadium today. 5-0 win over QPR, albeit in a pre-season friendly. We'll get some reaction from you on the text 81333. Start your message with the word Oxford. Got Nick Harris with me right now, who's been watching the game, and it is about really keeping all our feet on the ground after that, because I know it's pre-season, Nick, but it's just not like any pre-season I've ever seen before, and as a reporter I've probably seen more than most.
Yeah, and after last season and what a desperate time it was, and just avoiding relegation, to see a performance like that, especially in the second half, friendly or not, against the Championship side, it's got to give you enormous hope and expectations. Liam Manning, absolutely as we knew he would be, he wasn't going to get carried away. But I think his demeanour when he was talking to you could tell he was really, really pleased, because they have made some massive strides. I don't think that there's any doubt about that. game at Cambridge will be completely different. Cambridge should have watched this. Cambridge will play it very differently, but
Cambridge will be worried if they see it. I mean, anyone would be worried,
I think
wouldn't they?
anybody be worried, yeah. And I was talking to Ben Yemen earlier off air, and he was saying some of the people have said, well, what are the sides to look for in League One? And the people who know said, well, Derby County, of course, but then they said, Oxford have bought some really good players, and Oxford really seem to be going places. So,
but the funny thing is, Nick, they bought some players in, but you think about the players that have come in, it feels almost less relevant than the players that were already here, playing with conviction, playing as a unit. Perhaps because of the players that have been brought in, playing with a little bit of fear that they can't just phone it in and they can't just turn up and play. There's got to be an absolute work ethic about them as well.
Yeah. Confidence is a great thing in any profession. In football, I think it's absolutely imperative. Obviously, the confidence. Nobody in that side, very few people in that side are 100% sure of a place, because there's competition for places now as well. And I think that's very, very important indeed. And, bringing Mills in and he scores and everything about that. No, it's a very, you try to... Liam Manning to ask him about anybody new coming in, and he was a bit coy. But I think what's important about United and the side they've got at the moment, there's goals in a lot of places for United. Yeah, everybody wants this big goal scoring centre for. Everybody in the world wants it, don't they? But there are goals from United, and it was nice to see the likes of Marcus Brown, Cameron Bannigan. We know we can score goals, getting goals today, and of course the newcomers also.
And Jordan Thornley from a set piece.
Jordan, that's right. I have to be careful because Gareth Ainsworth isn't too far away from us at the moment, but it was appalling defending, wasn't it? Really, really poor. And I would think there's some worried looking faces over there, QPR, and rightly so. Yeah, they were unfortunate with the injury to the centre half, but take Oxford United, they had a centre half. Say Moore had gone down injured. They could have replaced that, and they could have brought
Negru on
round and done okay, couldn't they?
I
can't think that's the only difference why things suddenly changed so much.
You mentioned Marcus Brown's goal, which was kind of brilliant and then a little bit scruffy at the end, but he didn't give up the chance, did he? He went after it, and you feel like in many respects Marcus Brown might be one of the players that didn't get into this game as much as he might have liked, but still was able to produce something to hang his hat on.
I think in some ways that can sum up his game a little bit, don't you? He is an absolute match winner, isn't he, at this level in particular. He didn't have the best of games today. Rodriguez didn't have the best of first halves, didn't he? But he really came into the game.
And hell of an assist for the Harris goal.
I absolutely love that goal because it was such a good team goal. It was a great pass from Rodriguez. And as I've said throughout the afternoon, I just worry if he's going to score enough goals. But that was an absolute cracking goal he did score. I think that would do him a lot of good as well.
No relation, of course, really.
No. I like to
Mark Harris, wouldn't it?
I like to keep the surname. Yeah, very much so. But
what about the defensive unit, Nick? Because, I mean, James Beadle, the goalkeeper, I don't think has conceded a goal in pre-season, but he's barely had a save to make in pre-season. I mean, maybe one against Swansea last week.
One against Swansea? He certainly didn't have a save to make today, did he? No, not
one good chance, wasn't there?
Willock had a good shot, didn't he?
Right at the start of the second half.
Yeah, that's right, and just went wide. But apart from that, little to do. But he does, for a 19-year-old, exudes confidence, and he helps the defence. And you've got people like Elliot Moore, who almost is the forgotten hero, isn't he? Every week he turns in those performances. Every week he holds that defence together so well. I think he likes Thornley being there. He likes a real left-sided centre-back to be there. Sam Long, Stevens, that's going to be interesting. I would think Sam Long would get the nod
for next week.
But again, straight away, that's putting a little bit of pressure on Long, and that's what a good squad and a good team are about. Kieran Brown, I don't think he's 100%. I think he'd rather be a left side centre half than a sort of left back that he has to play. But he did really well again today. I think
he plays left back for Northern Ireland, Nick. So in many respects, playing left back for Oxford is good for his international perspective. Just wanted to talk about the defence though, because as well they've kind of played in a they cope with the playing out from the back and all that kind of thing very nicely as well. We're going to hear from Cameron Brannigan in just a second, so we'll keep this brief.
Yeah, they do, and you've got McEachran who wins that second ball in there all the time. A ball they can play to him all the time when they do win possession, although sometimes they do give him in a bit of a difficult position.
Well, let's bring in Cameron Brannigan then, who's with us, having got the goal scoring going today. Cameron, thank you for joining us. That looked like a lot of fun to play it.
It was very enjoyable. Sit here and laugh, but it was enjoyable. But we've been working hard. It's nice to see some stuff we've been working on in training and coming out in the game. So now the main focus is next Saturday. We've touched on it in there. You get nothing for a pre-season game. It was enjoyable. Great afternoon to see the fans and they're here supporting in the numbers that they always are. And we wanted to repay them and put on a good performance, score goals, and we did that. So it was enjoyable.
You don't get points for a pre-season game, but you surely get confidence from that.
Yeah, of course, you pick up confidence, but the gaffer's been great with us. He's given us that confidence in training, the freedom to play, and that's the way we want to play. We want to be comfortable on the ball and enjoy it, and at times if we have to go longer, pick up seconds, we will do. So yeah, it's a bit of variation, but I think today showed that we're more than good enough to play the way he wants us to play, and we need to build on that now and look to next Saturday. It
looked like, and did it feel like you were part of a machine that knew what it was doing?
Yeah, well that's we've been working hard. A lot of it goes on behind the scenes where we're practicing and we're working hard. Nothing's ever perfect. Mistakes will happen and things will go wrong, and there'll be many ups and downs this season, I'm sure. But it's about sticking together as a unit and as a squad and as a fan base, and hopefully we can build on something good and look forward now to next Saturday and hope to take the start of the season.
You started this interview with a smile, but you start talking about next Saturday and there's a steely-eyed determination about you.
Yeah, I can't wait to play already. Today's done now, and like I say, it was an enjoyable pre-season. I keep touching on it, but we've worked very hard this pre-season, and we want to implement that now in the season. And next Saturday's our main focus, and I can't wait, and neither can the boys.
I'm assuming that there's absolutely no danger that after this scoreline you think you can roll into Cambridge and take the points.
Listen, there's no easy game in League One. I'm not going to sit here and say you can roll and turn anybody over. That doesn't work like that. You respect the opposition, anybody you come up against, and next Saturday will be a very tough game. But we want to work on what we've worked on in pre-season, and hopefully that can get us the right result next weekend.
And pre-season, is that not where, when you've got some dark moment on a Tuesday night in November where you're up against it and you need a goal in the last minute, is that what you'll ultimately, whether it's subconsciously or not, you'll draw on that?
Yeah, it's one of them. It's like, you do anything to win. There'll be moments this season where people will get us out of trouble. Like I said, nothing's ever perfect. There's going to be many ups and downs. But yeah, we've got enough quality in the team to get us out of trouble and, hopefully bring a bit of magic. You could see today everybody was enjoying themselves, everything was flowing, and we want to keep it that way. And yeah, long may it continue.
Do you look around your teammates and have, and again, this is what it looked like, absolute belief, and then look on the bench and go, wow, there's some talent there as well?
Yeah, I mean, from the bench to the squad, everybody's pushing each other in training. I've touched on this many times in interviews where you need a good squad because everybody pushes each other positions, and in training's hard, and that's the way it should be. Everybody's fighting a position, and everybody wants to play on a Saturday. And that's going to push everybody in the team, and the players that come on today were outstanding. You could see it, they knew what they were doing. Gas was unlucky with his chance. Young Mills, he's come on and scored his goal, so yeah, it was great to see, and yeah, it's been enjoyable.
Just finally for you, it feels like you're about to enter a massive season personally.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, I'm more than ready. I've been here now for a long time, and I love the club, and yeah, it's a responsibility that I enjoy, and I want a big season. I want to push myself and help the team as much as I can. So yeah, I'm more than ready.
Well done today, as you say. All starts for real next Saturday. Look forward to it. Thanks, Cameron.
Mate. Thank you.
Cameron Brannigan there, goal scorer today for Oxford United, and a really good performance as well, and no ill effects from the slight knock he got on his ankle as well. More reaction to come from Oxford United, more reflections on what's happened today. We'll talk about a big Greyhound meeting at the Oxford Stadium tonight as well, and we'll hear from Oxfordshire golfer Eddie Pepperell before we go at 6 o'clock. Maybe even get some reaction for you from the Banbury United game as well against Maidenhead, which sounded really good as well, from our reporter there, Kieran Bushnell. Right now, you're with BBC Radio Oxford, And we're heading towards 5:25. Thanks to Pete and Carla, who've been producing today. In the final test, England's cricketers lead the Aussies by 348 runs with 4 wickets and 2 days remaining. Max Verstappen's won the sprint race at the Belgian Grand Prix. No surprise there, but something of a pre-season shock here at the Kassam today. Good night.
Goal! Cameron Brannigan opens himself out beautifully. Great little interplay out. Everyone thinks Kieran Brown's going to whip the ball into the box. Finds a nice little ball. I think it was Harris. Great awareness. Flicks it back to Brannigan. Touch out of his feet. Opens his body up and slips it beyond Begovic.
Rodriguez plays it into the penalty area. This is great from Harris. It's a lovely take and a lovely finish from Mark Harris, who smashes it high into the net. Oxford United, as we approach the hour mark here, lead by 2-0.
McEachran, great ball into Harris, sets to Rodriguez. Brown on the run, he's through 1v1. Goes to lift it over Begovic. Goal! 3-0 Oxford. Oxford in total control at this current moment of the game. And here's Mills. He's onside, he's 1v1. And it's 4. Again, too easy.
Brannigan plays the corner in. It's attacked by Jordan Thornley, who's headed in the 5th for United. Glancing header. Begovic beaten at the far post after the corner came in from Brannigan. It was... Given Oxford have scored some very pretty goals today, as routine as you might expect, but cross comes in, header, goal, 5-0 Oxford.
BBC Radio Oxford Sport.